So hold our heads up high and beat the drum to what we love. Risk the fall, or we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of the world that we defy. A solo ride, but the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last
It is time for the second day of this weekend, and time to see who will fall in the upcoming lower bracket semifinals. I'm excited to see this BO5 head our way with teams that so far have proven themselves and maybe not shown us as much as they wish. My name is Orbital, with me is Roodood, and we'll be your casters for this matchup coming in here between Furia as well as Los Grandes. Roodood, how you doing today?
Yeah, doing very well. Just finished off my lunch, ready for some League of Legends. Excited to see these two teams go head to head. See if I'm going to be a prophet once again. The Gringos Liberados podcast has been delivering some good prophecies from myself thus far. So I'm looking a little bit towards Los's downfall here today to see if I could have sort of willed into their existence their 0-2 out of playoffs.
Yeah, and I think we do need to take a look at them first. I mean, this is a team that was touted as the lead coming in from the regular season. A lot of people had high hopes, but a lot of people had a lot of doubts as well. Zest, Drake, Hero, Feisty, Dudu, as well as Ackerman. These are names that a lot of people had a lot of future momentum going into them. And then in the upper bracket semifinals, took a little bit of a tumble against Loud, who, granted, Loud now in the grand finals, played very well for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit strange because we all thought that Loud were probably going to be, or at least I definitely thought that the Loud were going to be the team that were coming into this playoffs as maybe one of the low burners, ones that we weren't expecting too much from. They're the team that now find themselves in the grand final. So if you didn't catch the series yesterday, please go on and check it out because it's definitely worth your time. As for what we're expecting out of this series, I think we're both a little bit aligned on the outcome of this series in that we expect this to be Furia. For my money, it's just that their name value just adds a little bit more to their composition than anything else. And I think as we take a look here, Gigo, Tatu, Tuts, Ayu, and Jojo, they have done just a little bit more in the CBLOL for me to be confident in their abilities. Obviously, Gigo is almost a veteran at this point, so we're
Hmm.
expecting really, really solid things from him up on that top side. And even Tatu, his entrance to the CBLOL was phenomenal. Just his series up against Leviathan last week absolutely wiped the floor with Leviathan, didn't leave anything on the table. I think if he can do that again here today, Drake Hero is one of those junglers who he's playing up against that I've personally not quite seen enough from.
Yeah, I will say there is still, in my opinion, some caveats over to the side of Furia as well. I think both these teams, they've had different entrances into the lower bracket semifinals. As you can see them walking out here, giving their best faces forward. I will give a little credit, though. I know we're a little bit harsh on Los here, but I will say for Furia, yes, they played well yesterday, but that is against Leviathan, who did step up against Vivo Keystars, but it's still Leviathan, right, at the end of the day. So I am still waiting for Furia to also give us a glimpse at a larger glory because they have yet to take down Los or anyone kind of above them in red who also stood above them, I think, in the regular season. So for Furia and I think for Los, there is a lot to prove here, maybe to the naysayers, to myself, and everyone around that is still hoping to see them be able to perform at the top. Same with Los, who really do not want to go out in two losses here from the upper bracket to the lower bracket. And heading into game number one, I am curious on what they're going to play out here.
Yeah, it's definitely obviously a lot of big picks that we could see come out of this first game. I mean, for me as well, to remind people of the stakes of this series, we're down to the final four almost at
Yeah.
this stage. Final three once we have the beneficiaries or the super seeders of this series itself, and the loser goes home in fourth place. They then play up against Red in the lower finals before a date with Loud in the grand finals next weekend. So, really, really big set of games on the way for whoever it is that comes out on top of this series. And not just that, but securing yourself a top three position as well. It gives you that opportunity to play in that cross conference almost a little bit like what we had at the end of last year, where you play up against the North American teams, second and third, get to go off, have a little bit of an international, so the winner of this series is going to be looking toward that with bated breath, with open arms, and hoping that they will be the ones that can go and do it.
Yeah, let's see what they can throw down here. And I think for everyone that is watching, I'm going to be very interested in your own predictions as well. If you want to drop it in the chat, let us know who you think is going to come out with this series. Will it be Furia to be able to rise up to that challenge, take their chances against a rematch against Red in that lower bracket finals, as you were talking about, Roodood? Or are we going to see Los be able to bare their fangs and actually give us a chance at this bracket run, give us a taste of what many people thought they were going to be able to accomplish? Everyone in the audience, of course, watching this beautiful little intro for this matchup specifically. And I gotta say, the jerseys do look pretty dang good.
Yeah, both of these teams been very, very nice with the drip this time round as we load into the draft for game number one. You can see on the left hand side, Los sporting some nice orange, some away colors, if nothing else, and Korea still tried and true on the right hand side as well. We look at the draft now here, Orbital. We've got Varus taken off the board, no surprises, and it is for us to welcome us back in as though we're in 2025. Los took first pick, and Furia have chosen red side. You had an interesting statistic coming into the day here, Orbital, about Furia and red side, though.
Ooh, yes, I did. Furia have had an interesting path overall, and now I have to pull it back up, but I believe Furia are 9 out of 12 wins on their red side matchups. Now, that is in stark contrast to their blue side, which for Furia, they have played 2 games on that
Yeah.
blue side throughout the regular season and playoffs. I will say, and they've only won one. So in the old stat line, Furia are very heavily fated to or weighted to win their red side matchup as we get the bands coming out here. Oriana rides and all the good stuff with the Rumble pickup made, pretty tailored to Zest side.
Yeah, I mean, this is almost regular season. If we get to see this locked in Rumble first pick, is pretty much all that we got to see out of the regular season. So we'll see, which of the answers, looking at Ambessa as the typical go-to that we saw be picked up by Furia. Now they get their pick of the mid laners as well. Instead, though, it is going to be a
Wow.
absolute wombo combo duo here, locked in very early. The Ornn and Jarvan picked up nice and quickly for Furia. So, hey, in case you didn't realize, we're putting all of our eggs into the bot side basket once again.
I know that you talked about the top lane, but it's gonna be a snooze fest up there. But I do love the rapid response that came out against Zest Rumble. I mean, it's a very strong pickup, and you immediately divert into this. We are going to keep you contained. We do not want the hotbot combo to go to your favor, and we want a lot of bluster and frontline for ourselves as well. This has actually left Los into a much more scary proposition. You could see the Zehen kind of rolled over there. If you wish to put it in the mid lane, you could. If you want to try and run a jungle, you could as well, or maybe switch it up, toss it to top, and let the Rumble go sideways. But I think Zest Rumble is great. It's just how do Los contend? They know that bot lane is going to be a focus, and they need a little bit of safety in there. So they are going to hover that Ezreal, which can get out of a very tight situation. But instead, they opt for the Corki. He still has some of the mobility, but has a lot more punch, in my opinion.
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons I'm not a great fan of taking that Jarvan super early. Is just because now Los have the opportunity to draft a load of things that can just get out of the Cataclysm, and it does make Jarvan's life in the late game that little bit more difficult. You know, if you're playing up against a Jinx and a Felios, one of those immobile stand and hit marksmen, that they're just going to get caught in the Cataclysm, and that's when they start to feel that pain. However, this time round, Los gets to take a really good answer in the Cork. He can just Valkyrie over the wall and be absolutely fine. That said, though, they are doubling down on this team fight dive style. They are going all the way in here. A blind Akali for Furia. Expects a Galio ban to get taken out here because they need to protect this Akali now with that third pick.
I do wonder. Okay, no, no, no. They grabbed the Akali blind. I was wondering if you're maybe inkling to that Corki in the mid lane, which I don't think I've personally seen in a very long time, but the idea that it's there, no, you're banning out the LeBlanc, you're banning out these other mid lane champions, very much assuming this Akali is going to be into a very rough matchup. On the flip, Los doing almost the exact same. They have the Corki in hand, so they need to ban out a lot of these capture ADCs. The Ash banned away, the Crystal Arrow will not be flying across the map.
I think Kais is also a really good ban here for Los.
Mm.
You see, obviously, a lot of dive coming through. Maybe Jin gets taken off the board as well if they're looking at things that can support from afar. But I think that that marksman, either the Kaiser that can go diving with the Jarvan and the Ornn, or the Jin who can provide support, are both really good bans here to focus at IU. Obviously, for Furia, they've taken away the Corki Nami pairing, which has been pretty powerful in that bot lane. They've left the Galio open here, sort of dangling in front of Feisty, saying, "Do you want to take this for yourself? Are you feeling confident enough to operate this mid laner into Tux's
Ooh.
Akali?" Because he had this same matchup in the last series up against Leviathan, sort of threw down the gauntlet there, and he did absolutely fine.
They're hoping they do just fine here as well. LeBlanc first ban, Nami second. So a little bit of a mix up in there. Recognize that the Nami has been such a prominent pickup when it comes to that Corki in the bot side. Can't give it over for free, so you ban it away. And now you're looking for your own ADC if possible, but no, you go for the support, which we do respect. You saw it there in the Champions Select for a moment. It is going to be that Nico still leaning into that very heavy investment, but please do it. Bring out the bird. You can see some smiles on the other side if that is locked in. It's one maybe that you don't want to see, but would be a great way to deny. Oh. Well, that's a boring answer, I think.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to ruin the party, but I feel like if they didn't go Galio here, then they were unfortunately trolling, which they
Yeah, but
aren't,
that's the
which is good.
boring answer, man.
I know. Game one Orbital, they've got to try and put something up on the board, right?
True,
Especially after
true.
they lost versus Loud. They're feeling a little bit down on their luck. They need to make sure that they've actually still got that 6-1 regular season gumption to make the most of their positioning. Now, obviously, the Nico for Furia pairs up really great with the dive. There's that Kaiser that we talked
Yeah.
about, right? So, they banned one, Furia picks the other. So it's a really good, well-rounded composition for Furia. They do one thing very well, and that is dive. When we look at the Los Grandes roster, how do they deal with that dive then? They've got Valkyrie to disengage. Galio's very good as an anti-diving champion. You can Hero's Entrance on top of that carry who's getting focused. Wukong can provide a good amount of peel as well. So I don't hate the Los Grandes roster. I don't hate their composition of players into this full dive for Furia. But I think if they get the ball rolling, this Furia side, and they're able to find that little bit of a lead, there isn't quite enough left in the tank for me to think Los Grandes can slow down that roll.
I can agree with that one. Los Grandes, I feel like they kind of half pivoted in that second round of picks there, and just, or not the second round, but picking up that Wukong as well as that Corki. It felt like a slight pivot, and they had to kind of make do with what they had. However, we know that sometimes skill outweighs the meta. So if we get to see Los Grandes, the team that did do very well in the regular season, be able to show up here, we could see an overwhelming win for them. And as you said, put one on the board. It is going to be one of the two chickens out there for us with the Galio in the mid, and it's Los versus Furia here to start off this BO5. Get your predictions in, take a look at the lanes, and see if you can guess who will be the victor. Roodood, now that we can't really look at the top lane because, this is going to be a snooze fest with the Rumble as well as the Ornn, where are your eyes drawn after seeing that Kai'Sa drawn to the bot lane? Is it just going to be a bot lane focus?
Yeah, I think I have to sort of turn my attention down there, not just because of the champions that are being played. I do think that Corki is a very winning matchup into the Kai'Sa, but also
Mhm.
because of the bot laners themselves. Dudu and Ackerman had a wonderful start to this year, sort of unexpectedly as well. Dudu came out with so many positive stats and looks like one of the best performing marksmen that we've got. As we load onto the Rift for game number one, they're up against maybe the most fearsome of bot lane duos in Ayu and Jojo. So there is so much for them to prove in this best of five. I think that looking across the Rift, that's the most evenly matched one. And I think it could be the straw that breaks the camel's back in either direction.
Kick things off here. 5-point start with the ADC and support going at it a little bit. You're going to get a taste of glory. Big wards being dropped as well. Defensive on the side of Los, offensive by Furia. Ward on ward each other, but that is going to leave a little bit of this early game dark. Furia have invested 2 wards here into the early game, which does give them a right info on where Drake Hero is going to go. It does leave them dark to some of the later games, considering Drake Hero is starting on the top side of the map.
Both sides going to be making their way down towards that bot lane, kind of as anticipated. When you see an Ornn in the game, you move away from it about as well and as quickly as possible. It is Conqueror for Zest on that top side, so he's again not particularly looking to do any scrapping through the early parts of this lane, just wants to get a couple of items in scale up, be that massive nuisance into the late game. And I've talked a lot about the Furia composition, how it dives and does that very well. What does the Los Grandes composition do? Well, as we move later on into this game, I do get a little bit fearful for their damage profile. They're going to be reliant very heavily on Dudu to be able to try and uptick all of that damage. Whereas I look at the rest of the map, Drake Hero can maybe be able to find some purchase onto Ayu to Tuts. Same for Zest, but these are some very slippery champions that Furia have on their roster. I think that as soon as an equalizer comes down, Kai'Sa presses E, Akali just flips off of it, and if she's ever caught in the Cataclysm anyway, that or caught with somebody in their Cataclysm, then they're going to get soloed down as well. So I do think that for Los, this game does get a lot harder as the game gets later. They're the ones this time round have to make something happen early, and that's not too easy because Wukong as a pre-6 jungler doesn't particularly do anything. The Bard can make plays early on, but does again want access to that Tempered Fate. I think they've got a very small window to make things happen this game.
You can already see for Furious side, it feels like they are giving breath to that inclination. They saw the pings go down. They saw that Drake here is on the bot side, and as you said, pre-level 6 can't really do much without that Cyclone, and that's especially true if there's no range to even play with it. Take a look at where IU and JoJo are currently playing, so far back, and it is going to alleviate and open up space to try and go for the scuttle for Drake Hero. But it's still very safe. As you said, it's on Los to try and find that early game aggression. For Tuts, though, willing to play very far up into this matchup. Feisty has already used that TP earlier on, went back to grab that Dark Seal plus a Pink Ward just to try and get an extra advantage. But again, it's very early game centric for Feisty, and Drake Hero won't be able to capitalize off of it for a while.
Both junglers do manage to complete their full clears. Look to put a little bit of lingering vision down as well. So shout out to Drake Hero for that, able to get his full clear on, recalls, puts a ward in the jungle. But now Zest might actually be in trouble. Jarvan can gank pre-6.
And looks to try and do it quite well. Zest, though, extremely far away and will burn that flash to safety. Don't disagree with it. I do wonder Zest could have gotten away with just a little extra damage on it with that knockup, but chose the safer route, which I do agree with. Now a counter gank opportunity. Drake Hero around in the wings, but I think spotted out. Yep, Gigo spotted just the hair's breadth of Drake Hero. So top laners are going to be safe for the moment. Jojo, okay, Jojo, it's 2026. I don't think anyone's really going to be, spooked by the fourth caster minion in that range.
You would be surprised the amount of times we've seen that
True,
work.
I do say that,
Especially in my solo queue games. Hey, that's the amount of times my mid laners have been elated at a fourth caster creep and then immediately died does scare me. However, not going to be the case this time for Feisty, but I like that Zest actually flashed there. He wasn't flashing because he thought he was going to die. Flashed to his
Oh.
HP. Hold on.
I like this. I like this. Good jump in. Plus a lush cute on the back end, but Tuts is going to be able to walk away. Flash forward, though. Last Auto could do it. Ackerman needs it, but Tuts is hanging on. First blood goes down to Ackerman with that dive. Doran's shield was almost enough, but for Furia, they lose out.
Yeah, so double flash is expended by Ackerman and Feisty. Tuts also using his to try and get away, unsuccessfully so, for the Akali this time out. And it is going to be a first blood, but to the Bard. So just think about what the lane state looks like. The Akali was able to TP back in, catch the majority of the wave. Dudu doesn't lose anything down on this bot side. So it is a little bit of assist gold. It's a Dark Seal stack. It's not nothing that low gain, but equally, Furia don't really lose too much either. Tuts is still up in CS. He's still very even. In fact, still ahead actually on experience. So it doesn't matter all that much. It just means that Ackerman is going to get a Kindle gem on his first base instead of a Ruby Crystal.
How dare you say First Blood doesn't matter? They gave gold back in First Blood. How dare you say First Blood doesn't? Okay, it's really true. It's really, really true. Little bit of extra gold, as you said. Kindle gem, maybe not so much, but on the bot side, it might be a different story. I love JoJo's use of that clone to try and take away one of those little Cocoa cups. But for Drake here, there's still no window in. You're still waiting for that level 6. So instead, you go straight for that scuttle once more.
Yeah, both junglers pretty on pace to ding that level 6 at 6 minutes. Maybe a little bit later here as Tattoo low rolls on the crab, gambled on it being up on this top side, and unfortunately doesn't quite work that out as very aggressive dash in there by Los Grandes. Doesn't manage to make it work as IU is able to nimbly dodge away from the Cosmic Binding. Again, taking a look at our items for those marksmen. Cullen Longsword versus the Tier does mean that for the time being, both of these marksmen are quite happy, not doing anything. But a replay of that gank into the mid lane does look for all the world as though it's actually going to be Tuts that's able to get out. A really good instep here. He dodges the Q from Feisty. Top side, actually.
Oh my gosh. Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes Zest's life. That is going to be a dive further. Oh no, they messed up though. Oh, they don't too far. Oh, Drake Hero's here. And Zest is able to live. Los Grandes given an opportunity. Mid lane might not have mattered as much, but Zest, a huge recipient in the top lane.
Yeah, that is really big as Drake Hero is able to come in. A good counter gank. And honestly, Zest showing why he was one of the best top laners that we had from the regular season. His absorption of that gank was incredible. He managed to turn around the play earlier as well, where a lot of commitment was given by Furia onto this top side. Zest has been ganked twice and has died 0. He's even got a kill out of it. So he's done very well at just weathering the storm of this Jarvan in the early game and actually putting himself in a very good spot.
And I have to feel that this is really different. We didn't get to catch the beginning, but we get to watch here, and look how far away this engage is. It feels like I'm really amazed that they actually chose to dive. Now I get the Cataclysm later, but nothing else did. And you just watch, they have no more oomph. They use all their range to get in, and then Drake Hero shows up. I mean, Zest, I am very impressed, but at the same time, overextension and a half, it feels like from Furia there.
Yeah, it was just misplayed, unfortunately. Gigo fires the Call the Forge God downwards. Ayu's got to dodge this. Flashes instead. I respect that because if he gets caught by that, then his barrier plus his flash after the fact. Bomb lands. There's a big one loaded up by Dudu too. So really good to see that they're able to get out of there as Ayu. So that looks like kills and assists for both of our junglers. Tartu, you can see, very proficient down on the bot side. Maybe leaning towards more so how Furia play, but Los Grandes, Drake Hero in particular, has been very good at getting things done on the top side.
Yeah, and again, I also feel like that heat map really goes to show how often Furia play on the red side of the map. You can see that
Mm.
cluster down there just above Dragon Pit. It's just like, yeah, that definitely looks like Furia's end of things. We are looking at about 8.5 minutes into this game, though, as Furia are looking for some sort of win around the map. IU tucked underneath this tower. Once again, Tatsu having to just clear their camps and then rotate out and around, which means that they don't really get full contention over this dragon. It will be Los to fire up for the first Drake of the game.
Yeah, again, it's Los that need to push this game that little bit quicker here. They are the
Hmm.
ones I feel gated a little bit by time. They've got a decent composition as this game gets later, but I think that their damage really starts to fall off. You can see Feisty as well starting, working probably towards that Eternal Winter to just make Tuts' life that little bit more difficult. So he's not going to be a damage Galio for the longest time. With that in mind, it is going to be tricky for them to do any damage outside of Dudu, and the ability to take him down is very vast as we see Jojo getting swarmed in the bot lane.
You might as well just try and hold on, as that's a really nice Pop
God bless
Blossom.
him.
A good hold on the back line, though, makes JoJo completely nullified. Good juggle as well on the flip end by Dudu and the squad. So it will be a clean dive by Los, as you said, starting to try and accelerate with this tower dive with the wins that they have so far.
I mean, I have to give credit there to Ackerman for a very well placed Tempered Fate. That was
Yep.
a triple Pot Blossom from Jojo, which means that Ayu can just get in with Killer Instinct, doesn't have to try and put himself in too much danger. And the fact that the Bard ult connects means that Ayu can't get in without really putting himself in a lot of danger after the fact. Had it been while they were all under the turret, then excellent, but that 2.5 second window just does everything that it needs to and keeps
Mhm.
the Kaiser from getting in and cleaning house.
I wonder if we do get a little bit of a replay of that feature later, but granted, it was a very clinical dive by Los Grandes. Now, will they get more from this? We're seeing those pieces, and I want to call back, as you said, we do want to see that acceleration. These pieces are great, but they are falling at a little bit of a simple pace. So far, they are just kills. We haven't seen it accelerate into, say, plates, into more dives, into more pressure on the side. We're reaching that 11-minute mark where we do hope to see Los be able to push this 1.2k lead into much further aggression. Whereas for Furia, they're being given time to kind of recuperate, to really breathe and figure out where they want to put their J4, who has so far been 0 for 2 in the top side. But that gold for themselves does look very, very clean. 3 already into the 4k region for the side of Los. Maybe I'm eating my words here in this game number one.
I think as well for Furia, what they do so well is sort of thrive through Tartu. He's been a real driving force for this roster and their successes through not just this regular season, but as a whole, as Gigo's getting low
Wow.
end on top. Oh dear.
Oh
Oh dear.
no. You
Oh
don't you
dear.
don't like to see it. Zest walking down Gigo though. Big win for that rumble.
So I have to imagine that he was predicting Zest was going to flash to the other side, and that's why he's fired it that way. Zest just kind of called his bluff. I don't know if he flashed before. It looks like he flashed to get in range for that, which
Yeah.
would really make the play from Gigo a little bit questionable. Hopefully, we can get another look at that one as well and see quite what actually broke down. But this is another instance of Furia really starting to struggle. Obviously, there was a lot of time and
Hmm.
energy invested into this top lane succeeding for Furia, and that has not happened now, though. Down on the bot side, who's caught who?
It looks like it's Fury that's caught out here. They thought they had, but that's a nice double knockup. Drake here, though, getting shredded into 1v2. Jojo and IU around the range. There's going to be the jump into the Cataclysm, but did you stop anyone? Another beautiful Tempered Fate slows them all down, but it's still going to be the walloping from the side of IU, able to pick off one, and the rest of Los do scatter. I thought it was going to be more difficult, but no, for Fury, they find that mark number one. Top
Yeah,
side,
it's
another little fight here. Zest, overheated, doesn't want to chase.
besides that, getting the minions is more valuable, and honestly, rightly so. As soon as somebody loses just one death, their gold value really does decrease to the point where a
Yep.
full wave is genuinely worthwhile now. So good to see that Zest is prioritizing the gold, despite the fact that Gigo may be slightly overextended in that instance. But he does now have that Kernic Rooken, which should mean it's going to be really tricky for Zest to take down this Ornn once again in that side lane. Really good play though by Furia, starting to even up a little bit of that gold. It was 2.1k just a little bit ago, but the fact that they found that little bit of a break in the mid lane and around the bot side does give them a very good way back in. Ackerman extending a little bit down on this bot side, and Tuts is here to bail out the bot lane for Furia.
Hmm. For Tuts as well, who has been kind of nullified in this mid lane, you're hoping to try and find some sort of pressure. Now, granted, you're going to be even more nullified here as Dudu and Ackerman just shred your HP down. Corki has been relatively quiet, already building into that Triforce, which we've seen a lot of Corki's obviously still adhere towards that Man Immune and Triforce buildup, still provides a lot of punching power. With rotation into that mid lane will expand out on this dragon that's up in about 30 seconds. The ability for teams to still collapse on in and create this team fight wombo that we've really yet to see from either side.
And I do think that once that full 5v5 starts to come through for Furia, that's when the good things should be able to happen. Obviously, for the time being, we haven't really seen it be actualized just yet. We got to see glimpses of it with Tattoo getting the 3-man Cataclysm, Tuts following up on that. Now you can imagine that with a Nico ulti plus Ornn ult over the top. Like, there are some very good things that Furia can work with. Just a case of making it happen.
Ooh, and again, they're just chasing JoJo, able to get that pop blossom, but it's only on one. Another chance on the back end, though, as Dudu shreds through JoJo's life. In comes Ornhorn from far away, but who is it going to land on? Once again, Drake Hero straight into the back line. Tuts looking for the 1v1 solo and a 1v3. And at the end of the day, it's a 1-for-1, but a jungle for support is not a trade that Los probably wanted. Dragon started up here, top side, still held by the Rumble. So for Zest, you're just going, hey, I got my gold. It's no big
He's
deal.
TPing though. Yeah,
TP
he's
from
not
the
coming
back
in.
end. I'm curious. Tatsu waiting, sees it from the far end, and now it's Furia underneath the tower. Say they don't want to do anything with that dragon.
Yeah, normally, in these early stages of the game, unless you're committing multiple members, you can only really get one, maybe two plates at a time. Actually taking down a full structure is very difficult when you're given alone time with it. That's one of the new things that came in at the start of the season. So it's good to see that Zest is actually trying to make the most of what he can do globally. However, that didn't net a dragon here for Los
Mm-mm.
Grandes. So they've effectively used their teleport to deny Furia from getting that dragon. And now somebody's got to try and answer that top side. They've put Feisty up there, who does also have teleport to get down here. But it might just be a little bit more difficult now for Los to try to play out this mid game. They're the ones that are trying to push the envelope. They're the ones that are trying to make this game end quickly. If they can't get this Rift Herald and they can't start dragging those, start stacking those dragon souls, it's going to make their life very difficult.
Oh, now you got me thinking about the idea of possibly multiple souls in a single game. Like, imagine having Hextech and Infernal or Ocean plus Mountain. You're just like, I hate life.
Have
I just.
you played Aram Mayhem?
I have. Man,
That's a possibility.
I'm going to say this. I got roasted by Drew Levin, and I've never. I now understand what it feels like. Never get roasted by Drew Levin. That is not a fun
No.
experience. I asked if he played Mayhem, and he definitely plays Mayhem. So that was a time and a half, dude. I want Mayhem so bad. I love it so much. Taking a look though back into this game, Herald used on the top lane for Furia.
And they're going to be able to secure first turret for Gigo. So, despite all the problems that he's ran into on that top side, he'll benefit a little bit from getting that extra gold. Feisty might be able to pull off some good shenanigans under the turret.
Ooh,
Instead,
nice.
got interrupted by the Herald, and it's going to be a good couple of plates re-injected back into Gigo. Obviously, the
Ooh.
dragon was picked up, so again, pushing towards that soul ever faster. They've got an infernal roll, so it's a pretty decent one to pick up if they can.
I think that Infernal is actually going to make things very, very spicy. You can see how quickly a lot of these front lines are going to shred if either team gets the Infernal, if either team is allowed this ability to just kind of cut on through all of a sudden. That Wukong's gone, that Galio is gone, that Ornn is gone, the J4 is gone. This is going to be a very destructive force to be reckoned with, and I really do feel like Furia want to start fighting a little bit more. They're still waiting for their main components to come online. Tut's still sitting at only a Gunblade in hand, which is great for 1v1, not really great for the punching power to play with. And for Zest, who is now 2-0, really flexing their muscles at level 14. I expect Los to keep rotating around, using that Rumble as a buffer to keep getting more gold on the field. Because they're down now, Los are actually out of that gold lead position and actually in a little bit of a deficit.
Yeah, so when those two items do come online, Black Cleaver plus Muramana for Dudu, Zest if he picks up the Rift Maker, that's really going to be that big window for them to make a massive play happen. And they feel like they're going to get there just a bit ahead of their opposition. Ackerman waiting with Tempered Fate
Ooh.
here.
And this is a little bit curious. There's no global objective. This is
So
literally just a
cute.
scuttle. Is this where they decide to play with their lives? A really nice Tempered Fate to slow him down and draw the TP in. Double TPs on the backside. Gigo looking for a chance to chase on the back end. Drake hero punch in the front side, though. It's a whole different story. In comes the heroic entrance, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Feisty loses out on their jungler. Now it's Los on the run. All of this over a scuttle, and Furia are granted to.
Yeah, and they just don't have the damage here, Los. I'm really worried for them as this game gets later because it's not going to get easier. They don't quite have that 2-item spike. Dudu's DPSing Gigo the whole time. He's able to put a good damage down into Tatu, but they're able to play with their HP and get out to safety. Whereas the flip side of that is that IU is going to do much more consistent DPS than a Corki at this stage in the game. And you can just see that actually, without any threat onto the Kaiser, they were actually able to play this as a front to back without too much difficulty. But this massive group here from Los Grandes, again, they're getting themselves caught into this really bad position where here can come Pot Blossom. They're forced to flash out to safety. Gigo's able to zone very effectively with the Ornn presence and the Call the Forge God as well. Dudu's not really actually doing any damage here. He's, yes, up maximum DPS he can do as a Corki, but the items just aren't there.
Yeah, and you can see where their eyes were looking as well, leaving Feisty alone, who tried to join in and used everything that he could to kind of get that reliability, was actually zoned out at the very end, and that last little knockup was like the icing on the cake. Gigo getting that last little chunk with the headbutt. It's painful. And again, you look at the damage numbers right there. IU, you mentioned before, this Kaisa in the R5 position. You called it out in draft. This Kaisa would be an immense powerhouse for Furia to pick up, and so far it is yielding massive results.
2 items now as well for IU. So neutral objectives, beware, as Kaisa can very easily take those with very little difficulty on that second item spike. The Plasma procs doing an insane amount of work at helping with that. You can see as well, just been quite quiet in the sense that IU hasn't really felt like a big part of this.
Oh,
Do forced to flash away, but he's just kind of been there on those team fights, collecting gold, collecting the resources that he needs to get to this breakpoint. And again, what's the threat? How do they take down the Kaiser? You can theorize, okay, well, maybe we get a Tempered Fate onto her. Okay, that's when Jojo's going to engage, give her an out with the ulti. Okay, well, what if Feisty lands a taunt or lands an ulti when Drake Hero's ulted on top? That's, again, a possibility, but there are going to be so many outs for the Kaiser just because there's so much CC around the rest of her team. She can just use her ult to get out to safety and use it as a repositioning tool.
and I think really I'm just, you're looking at Furia. This is a Furia that a lot of people do enjoy. They scale up. What is that, mid to late? You called it out in the composition, and for anyone in Los' side, it's more just, dude, this is once again Los, where they had a good start in the early game, saw a couple wins in the early game, yet they've fallen a little bit flat. Right now, this pink ward finally taken out by Drake Hero. Oh, that's so mean. Who placed it? Where did it get? Oh, it's in the mid lane. That was mean. I love doing that, but that's mean. Looking at a TP, though, my eyes are drawn away. We are looking at dragons spawning here at 22 minutes.
Los need to get this. Obviously, a lot has changed in the last 5 minutes. Their standing in the game is a lot weaker. So this is spotted on a pink ward here, so it's somebody's job to mark the Akali, make sure she can't get in. Has to be Feisty as he can join the rest of the fight. 2 item breakpoints have been connected for the majority of Los, so their opportunity to fight is quite high. And if this game gets any worse from here, then they're probably just out.
Well, there it is. That's called Forge God being used. It does whiff a little bit, so an ability for Los to actually scout away. Cyclone barely going to land, though. Tut's burned down. That's the equalizer that you wanted, though, and this might be the damage. Big win by Los on 1. They sneak away that dragon right in front of the faces, and it does put them on soul point. Very nice lockup, and Furia left a little bit wanting.
Ego just, again, really not having the best of times on this Ornn. Those Tempered Fate went wide from Ackerman, the Call the Forge God. Pretty underwhelming. And, to say that Los had really struggled their way through this mid-game, actually, their team fight there worked out very well. Zest, again, performing massively on this Rumble. You called it out in the fight, Orbital. It's a massive equalizer. Roodood.
Okay.
Well, welcome to why you don't blind pick Jarvan, everybody.
I like how Tatu's probably like, I got his Valkyrie, guys. I got his Valkyrie. We're good.
Corki no W, let's go. And, okay.
If that's your call out, by the way, please no, don't do that. That's like my solo queue games down in silver. It's not a good sign. Two towers taken though by Los across the map, as it feels like, as you said, they gotten the win back under their sails. Remember, they weren't in good standing position, but that one dragon take puts them on soul, opens up the map a little bit more, and now they can focus on the mid lane tower. This injection of gold to their pockets will feel good.
Yeah, and we've got the AP Black Cleaver for Zest as well in the Bloodletter's Curse, so it's going to enable him. Jojo looking, didn't quite find the catch on to Dudu there, who might have been quite happy that there was a third melee creep. I will say Nico got an inherent buff because at some stage during the game, they stop spawning 3 melee creeps and start spawning 2.
Yes.
So if you see a third creep walking in, you're like, oh yeah, this is normal, until you remember, oh wait, that stopped happening at a certain stage. So the slightly hidden Nico buff that came in wasn't to catch out to do there.
No, it wasn't. As now Tuts and Feisty go at it a little bit. I was gonna mention earlier. I miss the days of minion dematerializer because that is the easiest way to mess with people back in the day.
Just
Granted, I also yeah, okay, that's a whole other story. It was I forgot about that too. I'm so sorry. I forgot that you
Yeah,
can still one shot Nico. It's so good. It also reminded me that I missed Twin Shadow, but that's a whole other story out there. Clone, as JoJo wanders on in, sees if they can sneak away another Valkyrie out of Dudu, but it's not going to happen. Dragon up in 2.5, though, and that's where Los are really keeping their eyes. They're still looking to chew on through, and granted, as much as we said, this soul point for them is good. I'm still waiting for them to accelerate the game to a very comfortable state, though.
Still feels like Furia can take any fight really, and that both of these teams honestly can take any fight from here.
Okay.
Feisty looking for Tartu, still has flag and drag.
Ooh, and Force Tempered Fate scatters IU out. I like the limit testing though by Los doubling up, and that's going to be a catch. Zest on the far end. There's a pop blossom. Very nice Zanyas though, allowing a jump in by Feisty. A lot of utilization by the ultimates, by the safety mechanisms on both sides.
Yeah, I like that though. Go fishing 2 minutes before the dragon. Your cooldowns are going to be back up. They do burn the stasis from Zest. If he can't get the gold to buy a Zonyas, he's not going to have that for that crucial fight. So I now think Operation Zonyas is really in the works for Los Grandes because they're going to need Zest to have that item. You saw how powerful it was in just that one small interaction right there. If he doesn't have it, it then makes his life a lot more difficult. So if he can get the gold to work his way toward Azonius, then excellent. And if he has that for that fight, then even better. If not, though, that's then a problem. Same to be said for Dudu, who's very, very close to having finished off, I believe, his last Whisper, or his Lord Dominic's Regard, excuse me, for the Corki. Needs to have that be hit before they take this fight around the Dragon. 1 minute on the spawn. Recalls need to start coming through, and they need to start working their way towards some bot side vision as well. The beauty of the position that Los are in right now, they can just say, Furia, have that dragon, and then we'll take a Baron, but that's a very risky game to try and play.
I would agree. I don't like the idea of giving a team like Furia this idea that they can start stacking up those Infernal Souls, especially with their late game prowess and the ability to kind of drop any single player at the drop of a hat. Furia, keep in mind, IU is still stacking up, has a Feed Hunter Bolt available, triple crit, plus a little extra behind. If it was already going to crit, it's going to hurt. Not only that, ornaments coming on through. Gigo at level 16 has already powered up 2 other players in there, Tatu and IU, both the recipients. I can only assume Tuts is going to be the next with a Shadow Flame level up or maybe a Gunblade. All of this can be brutal for Los to deal with as we're headed over 10 seconds away from Dragon.
IU flash there. Tempered Fate now not available though for Ackerman, and I think that they'll take that as Furia. I think you're happy to trade Kaiser Flash in this instance because you've got so much CC. It does now mean Jojo, Gigo, Tatu, they've got to be ready with some CC, and now they're going.
Yes, they do. They try to aim at Ackerman, but Ackerman is out. Tuts going straight to the back line. In goes the hero entrance, but JoJo only catches one instead. And it's going to be Los saying, eyes in the praise. They are going to chase on in. Dudu in the back line, trying to chunk out. Flashes away and gets IU on the back end. That leaves poor Orn alone, and Furia collapse under the weight of Los's Grande power. It will be Soul Infernal at that to go Los Grande's way.
And it's the triple kill for Dudu. Like we said, the power of this bot lane on either side is going to make or break the game. And it turns out that it's going to break it in favor of Los Grandes. They secure the soul. They're not going to overextend. They're not going to look to try and find the Baron off the back of this as well. They'll be very happy with a team fight win and an Infernal Soul to go their way. Feisty, you can see also trying to play this anchor role, looking for the flank. Doesn't end up really finding anything from it. Goes back into the front line and has a good time with it. But Los Grandes this time are the ones that are playing with their HP bars. And actually, IU spent a lot of time working on trying to clear out that pink ward. If that's gone,
Hmm.
it means he can hit onto whoever walks into that brush. The fact that he can't means that he gets lost, and Roodood gets a lot of free auto attacks that he probably shouldn't have got. You're not quite able to win out the 1v1 of those marksmen. And yes, the consistent DPS is going to be better for a Kai'Sa, but a Corki does an insane amount of burst. And if you can't withstand it, you are going to fall.
I also give credit, drawing eyes a little bit further back, Los's ability to juggle in that team fight, being able to draw a lot of that engagement from Furia, that just went sideways. I think that's like the third Ornhorn that we've seen Gigo just unfortunately not really hit on priority targets. It's a big nullification when we look at an engage comp like Furia's. If they can't land the engage, it makes sense that they're going to lose their resounding fight afterwards. And now leaves this Baron completely free for the tanking. And unless we want to see the likes of Tatu just try and hop on in, I think it's going to be gone. Take a look at that gold lead just ballooning in their favor. Another Temper Fate coming off here. As Low say, this might be ours. Equalizer just cooking IU on the back end. And a massive Corki missile lands on the back. Doo-doo goes sniping and lands the mark easily.
Yigo's got to block those, but equally, you've got to hope that there's a little bit more dodging coming through from IU. Just not expecting so much damage from downtown. Nobody was on his screen, and he died. Feels bad as an AD carry, but that's the case in this instance. Now it is going to be some heroism from the top side of Furia and Jojo alike. Can they get in? Can they stop this Baron? Can they keep this game alive?
They're going to give it a shot. Ornhorn once again going a little bit sideways to your entrance, though, as the fight is completely split. And Los granted 2 more. Baron actually stopped here at 2.7, though, and they're going to dive on in. Do they get it? No, they do not. Los secure the kills, plus the A's, plus that Baron.
And you'd like to think, Orbital, that should be game number 1. It might take them a push or two, but with an 8k gold lead, a soul at their back, first Baron going their way as well. It was very tempered, very close for the last 25 minutes, but in the final 5, it's Los Grandes who have come out absolutely flying. IU not going to be able to defend any of these structures, needs to wait for the rest of his team to come back alive. And it's a good look for Los Grandes here. They struggled up against Loud, they lost and came down to the lower bracket. And one of our questions from the regular season was, can they handle late game? Can they play in these tight-knit, very intricate scenarios? And in game number 1 of this series, Orbital, the answer is proven to be yes.
I think it might continue as well for Los. We've been waiting for them to wake up, and they've done so. Take a look at this. Again, just forcing IU away. And look at Doo-doo, by the way. Doo-doo with a snipe, lands 1, reads where IU's going to go. And I know they're not really going to show the cam, but I saw Doo-doo laughing after that kill, by the way. I saw a little chuckle at the very end. You can see the coach is quite happy about that snipe and gave them a little sigh of relief as well. This Baron didn't turn into a flip, although it did at the very end, but it still felt like a better secure, as now we're looking at a 4.5k Baron play.
Yeah, what you have to think is, even if Furia did get the Baron, it probably keeps them in the game a little bit longer, but they've still got aced.
Yeah.
And the game wouldn't have been as, it might have been a little bit better for them. But Los would have still come out on top, and I think that's the really important part. Looking for Feisty now, flashes out of that mid lane. But the entirety of Los Grandes are more than happy. Sacrifice Galio Flash, we get your bot inhibitor. Thank you very much.
I like it. Hey, you pull one and then the other. It's the lesser of 2 evils for the side of Furia. You're in between a rock and a hard place, and that hard place has cracked your walls. It's a rough spot to be in, but you got to make that call sooner rather than later. Furia watching. Number 1 falling, inhibitor 2 turret going down, inhibitor 2 going down here. They are left with just 1 on the top side. A very angry Los, a squad that is hoping for a victory. For Jojo, you're hiding off on the wings. This is a melee creep, just standing in the wings as Tots is actually being run off. There's going to be the equalizer coming on down if you can. It's a little bit late though, as the Temper Fate kind of solves it all out, but the burn behind leaves Los Grandes cooking up a storm. The appetizer has started on this 5-course meal, and I can only assume their main course will be one to behold.
Game 1 for Los Grandes, a very solid display out of their late game closing. Furia gave them a good run through the early stages of this game. But for me, it comes down to Zest and Dudu for different reasons. Zest for his ability to withstand the early game pressure, still have an incredible early, mid, and late game. And then for Roodood, a mammoth in these team fights. Went into that final siege 8-0 and 2, was an absolute barn burner for him. He had a very solid game, never really felt threatened. Even in that final fight, he got focused by the engaged, got Kaiser ult on top of him, still lived, still stood firm. The entire low composition came together when they needed to keep their AD alive.
And we were looking at Fury as saying, hey, this composition can really engage. They are able to take control of the game if they can get a lot of their proactive moves off. And that proactivity felt very, very off for Furia. They drafted so well, and we've seen them live up to these statuses before. Yet what happened this game, and how do we see it corrected heading into game 2? Was it literally just Los having a great game, or was it Furia mistaking what their composition could do in that early game?
There were a couple of rogue Ornals, is all I'll say.
No, I wasn't going to call it out. But...
right? Like, if you're going to pick these champions that do great knockups and big engages, you need to land the knockups and you need to land the engages. Unfortunately, for Furia, their top laner just wasn't firing. Gigo had gone home, and it was not the vibe of this Ornn at all. Just didn't have those successful engages, didn't really find the key backline access, and as well as that, Tartu, who again is such a proponent of this Furia team's success, just wasn't able to get off the ground early on. He went for 2 ganks top lane, both of them got quelled very quickly by Zest, and that really set the tides and set the tone for this game.
100% agree. Unfortunately, you got to land the ults if you want it to be useful, and you got to make the champions look pretty good on screen. For Furia, you're down 1, but you got a whole BO5 to work on through. So we're going to go to a very short break. When we come back, more CBLOL English action across the side as we continue with the lower bracket semis. Don't go anywhere. game number 2 on the horizon, and honestly, I think Los Grandes are already giving us a much better show than we expected. We came into this saying we need to see them win in a strong fashion. You mentioned it, of course, late game has always been their struggle. I give them credit. 20 minutes hit that clock, and they were like, yeah, we're taking every fight afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, like the reason that we were concerned about Los's late game from the regular season wasn't because they'd struggled in late games. It's because we'd never seen them get there. We didn't know
Yeah.
what they could do. Their 6-1 was 5 early game stomp victories, one game where they actually looked pretty good, and then the game against Pain Gaming that nobody talks about, that they lost. So coming into that series up against Loud and taking a look at them here, obviously our expectations are going to need to be a little bit altered since that game number 1. Again, they held their own pretty well through the early stages of the game. As we moved into that mid game, it felt a little bit weird, and then we got to the late game and they were back on all cylinders firing again.
And looking at this game number 2, same sides, Furia once again, and as we mentioned, really favoring that red side, whether for worse or for wear, but they chose first pick this time around. Seeing those bans shift in a different direction, it is that Varus Oriana banned out on the side of Los, but flip side, massive changes here. Remember, the first 3 bans that came out, or the first opening bans from Los, were Pantheon, Yunar, and Rise. Massive focus to that top and lower side in the Malphite, the Mbessa, and the Nautilus. Crazy shakeup there.
Yeah, so lots of alterations, let's say, coming into this one here. The Jace gets taken, so Furia here, one of those supreme junglers on the patches. We've even seen it played in that top lane. Obviously seasons past, but just this morning, the T1 DK series, 07s to T1 and their chances at defending international successes.
Oh no.
But it was Doran pulled that one out into the top lane, so I mean, it would be foolish for us to say, oh, Jace is just a jungler after the years of top lane dominance he had, but he's showing a little bit of his face up there once again.
He is in very open format. Now, keep in mind, this is exactly what put Gigo and I think the rest of Furia into a very difficult spot when their blind picks came to bite them in the backside. Very nice lockdown from Drake here and Feisty here. The Vi Talia combo now ensures one person will go down. And for Furia, you're now pivoting to how can we play a little bit safer. It's the Ahri lock in to match, but then it's the Sion quickly locked into buffer with the HP bars, and a look at a farming champion to tailor in for that late game. Los looking with a GP hover, which if that actually goes through would be wild. No, this is a little bit more appropriate. The Gnar hovered. It's a classic matchup for that Sion.
Yeah. Not against a GP hover there. I mean, taking it would have been a good little throwback. Maybe as we get deeper into Fearless, if a Cassante gets locked in, we'll see a GP come through as that answer. But we remove any potential theory building around this Jace and his position. He's slotted firmly into the jungle. I like the Ahri as a means to an end in terms of stopping this Talia and Vi from having a real easy time of things. Mainly just because, yes, the Vi can follow you with that cease and desist, but you can buy enough space from the Talia so you don't then get shuffled back with the seismic shuts. A little pickup here for Tuts also gives enough playmaking to be able to pick out Feisty, pick out Dudu if they are caught a little bit too far forward. As we move into, though, the second round of our bans. Good to see that Yunara has been taken off the board. I was looking at that thinking, why haven't we taken this champion? And removed either way. But again, it's a large dive composition. This time round, though, it is Los Grandes who have taken it. So again, my looks toward those champions who can fire in from afar. Looking at things like Jin, they've already taken the Ashe in the center off of the board. Maybe a Misfortune could get locked in as we start to go a little bit lower down in that AD carry priority.
Misfortune in this setup would be dastardly, but what you want to take away more, as you were saying, is a lot of that safety mechanism or the catch. The Ezreal banned away was hovered, I think, last game, but instead opted for that Corki range. Now no longer safe. Another hover, another little look at the bird. One of 2 left there, at least in my opinion. And it's the Yuumi as well. They're just playing with their heartstrings at the end of the day. Lucian makes a little bit more sense in there, and this almost calls for a Nami outright to be either stolen or picked.
Yeah, and then we look at what Furia have got for themselves, and they haven't really got an identity just yet. They've got a good bit of poke with the Jace, they've got a good bit of pick with Tuts on the Ari, and then some good frontline as well. So they really can take this composition wherever they want. They just have to play to that. Ayu, again, been a very good hyper carry player, has been able to go for some off the wall picks in the past as well. I feel like trying to predict this man's champion has been pretty impossible regardless. So instead just goes for that team fight. They're going to lock in a Zaya Rakan, a very solid pickup into, in particular, the Vi here. If the Vi ever looks to ulti you, you simply ulti and immune it. So there's a good amount of work that can be done by Ayu in this instance to keep himself alive and keep the playmaking of his team nice and high.
It also diverts away when you lock in the Zaya and Rakan. You almost force the situation of, do we go for more dive into, or do we stay a little bit safer? They are going to go with the more standard Lucian Nami combo. It's a little bit weaker in terms of the HP department for Los, but still a lot of playmaking, as you mentioned. Much tankier for Furia in terms of that Scion, but they're going to bring a lot of pain here in the early game as well. I think this is going to be another test, but a very fun one, as Los have to be far more on point if they want to make this composition work.
Yeah, they've got slippery champions. They haven't really got damage dealers necessarily in the true sense of the word. And when I look at that, I think, how do you cut through Gigo, right? If Gigo is stood in front of 5 members, he's going to fall. But if it's a 5v5 where everybody's trying to go hell for leather on one another, you begin to think that actually getting through this Scion while you've got Ari, Zaya, and all of the rest of the work being pelted at you could be quite tricky. And just one errant charm from Tuts can take down pretty much everybody on this Los Grandes roster. So the pick potential from Furia, very, very real. Maybe Jojo on this Rakan can instill some of the bright things that we've known and seen from this player in the years gone by. But that's, I think, going to be Furia's way to success, is picking up quick picks and using Gigo and his health pool, really, to win this game.
And of course, after looking at all the squishies, we got to look at the top side once more, where Zest, remember, has such a tailored lead on that Rumble, gifted this time that Gnar, and might have the ability to create a very large space for the team once more. I don't know what that guy was watching, because you should be watching the game in front of you. It is eyes on for game number 2 here in the lower bracket semifinals of the CBLOL Cup.
And with Los Grandes taking that 1-0 to begin with, I do think it's a good time now as we start out game number 2 to remind people where these two teams have come from. Coming into the year, Furia felt like one of our front runners who we would expect to be playing in the America's Cup in this postseason, if not representing the CBLOL at first stand. They now find themselves in a elimination series where they are down in the first game. They might yet struggle to make it to any form of international play, let alone the second and third place spots for it. But Los Grandes, again, coming into this season, if you'd have told pretty much anybody that you were expecting them to finish the regular season 6-1, that you were thinking actually they're going to be a team that are contending for a title, we'd have laughed in your faces. But I think we're in this position now where after game number 1, it looks like they're a pretty dominant force and that they could do some pretty decent things in this series here and into the rest of the CBLOL Cup as well. So a big expectation for Furia to succeed coming in, and for Los Grandes a real big chance to make a massive upset happen.
Once again, prove some naysayers wrong. A lot riding not just on the series, but I think on the organizations as a whole. As you mentioned, looking forward to that international play, give themselves a chance a little bit more play against teams outside this region. You saw a little interview there with Furia's coach, and some eyes on what they were thinking of, and if it is going to play well. For Tuts, though, in the mid lane, you're watching as your jungler crosses the pathway. Both junglers started on the top side of the map, equalizing down here on the bot side, and maybe fighting over that scuttle range. Top side, Zest, level 3, looking for a quick smash, and get some damage down on Gigo, a situation that we know and love in this Gnar versus Scion matchup.
Yeah, and I would be worried as Zest here. I mean, if game number 1 is anything to go off of, he's got about a minute before Tatu is going to make his way into that top side, take the crab, maybe try and find a gank as well. So has a little bit of time for him to be able to make something happen, but then needs to be fearful for any ganks coming through. We have already, just in the small bits of trading, seen barrier expended by Ayu as well down on that bot side. So a little bit of a combat summoner usage to keep himself safe, as Tatu here very quick to get down to this bot side, and Ackerman actually very scared to walk into that tri-brush. No surprises.
And I think recognizing that you do have to wait for your own jungler, you knew Drake Hero was around, but this is going to be the chance. Very nice short-range punch. It's a good recognition as that's a bubble back, and actually Tatu, that ate a lot of the extra damage, wasn't able to get the leap off. Instead, it's a good butt back, and Drake Hero gets free scuttle.
Shorts the queue, as you'd expect, just needed that little dash to get him out of the knockup, which for Drake Hero is a very good start. He's actually going to be able to take first crab, and asking for a little bit of assistance from his mid laner. Can we walk and take this as well? Answer should be yes. We look at that top lane, and Zest is pushed Gigo under the turret. They're even in farm, but double crab for Drake Hero again means that this early game is going very well for Los Grandes. It's Tatu who finds himself now in this position where he's got to start re-clearing his full set of camps once more.
On the bot side, good little damage back. Ackerman's out of mana, meaning no heal is going to come through. Force Flash coming out here, and it feels that over-aggression from Ackerman with the massive tidal waves, like 3 or 4 times, but not the titles, the ebb and flow. Kind of caught him off guard. Jojo and Ayu like, yeah, we'll take that all day long.
Burning the flash on that Lucian, definitely a win as well. And I mean, for Ayu and Jojo, right, they are a really well-tenured bot lane in the CBLOL, so their ability is not one to question, whereas Roodood and Ackerman coming into this split again, we didn't really know what to expect from them. Ackerman off the back of a pretty difficult 2025, and Roodood, a name that I just really wasn't familiar with at all from the scene, so him coming in and being one of our best marksmen that we had down on that bot side, him taking Ayu to task in game number 1 as well, definitely shows that this bot lane isn't maybe as cut and dry as people might have thought. And actually, these two teams have got a lot in their tank ready for this series.
I mean, I'm hoping it's a full 5 games, but some of these teams might be waiting for only 3, maybe 4 if they're lucky. At the same time, looking towards this further early game, I'm still waiting for the big explosive action to happen. We were waiting earlier, and I think for Los, it came in the form of the top side. A little bit of a dance as Zest and Gigo saw those openings from the junglers, but this time around, it's a lot of vision clearing and a lot of space taking. What a catch, though! Empowered Shock Blast on the back end. Remember, Roodood has no flash. Last feather to go on through, and its first blood easily picked up by Ayu.
And they just didn't expect it. Now an all-in topside as well. Zest is just turned mini.
Oh no, and you got caught out really heavily. This is low HP value, but look at the chunks coming through. 3 hits each time. Zest trying to run for their life. Flash is available, but no follow-through as Gigo is able to force Zest into a defensive position.
Yeah, Ackerman here trying to hold this wave so that his AD can get it. I think that there's one ranged creep missed as now Zest goes in, has Mega Bar popped, but flash from Gigo does give the advantage over to the mini Gnar. Los Grandes once again winning out on that top side.
Yeah, no mana. That's always a scary spot right now. Re-aggression here on the bot side, but Tatu is still around. Quick assault and battery, though, forces Ayu into defensive position, but you get away almost. Roodood. Last shot on the back end, so ADC for ADC at the end of the day.
And actually, given the position of this wave, it's actually really good for Roodood as he was able to find a large portion of the wave that got crashed under his turret. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case for Ayu as well. Hero does smite it.
Oh, that's very, very close. You can see Tots really hoping for a chance, but just not landing that charm at the end.
Very close here on both sides. We will make sure that as this game continues, we're keeping a track of where those advantages are found. But look at this from Doodoo's perspective. He sees the Jace, then gets caught by a Shock Blast and a very well-hidden route, actually, from Ayu. Doesn't quite have his E up in time. That Relentless Pursuit doesn't quite get him out to safety with enough space, but Roodood was able to catch the majority of this wave. Now, at this point, they're pretty much even on experience. Dashes forward, a good slow comes in. Not quite level 6 for the Xayah. Does mean that she's ultimately going to fumble under the might of that level 6 Vi. One final auto attack does just enough for Roodood to find that kill. Now, another all-in top side.
Chance and a half. Zest trying to get some re-aggression to really lay this damage down, but for Gigo, who has already gone through game number 1, said, okay, look, I'm learning how to dodge, I'm learning how to get a little bit more safer side, and you already knew you were going to be weak side. with this Scion, so just trying to give a little bit of space, scale in to be that mid-game tank damage soaker. Looking at this Dragon, though, a little bit of a startup here. First Dragon, 7.5 minutes, about a minute earlier than I think in game number 1, but done on top of Vision. So Furia taking a little bit of chance. IU and JoJo rounding their way as well. Drake Hero, are you actually going to look for the snipe? This could be a good chance. No one's in the pit, so you could have a huge opportunity here. Over the wall you go, but a good smite by Tatu now forces Drake Hero to flash back out.
And you know, you run that risk, right? You know, as soon as you go in, if you get spotted and don't find it, you have to flash out. And that was a price that Drake Hero was willing to pay. Is level 7 to just the level 6 of the Jace, so he's a little bit ahead in that sense. But once the Jace has gone back to his camps, cleared those out, will probably be nice and even as well. With both of these two junglers having found an early assist as well down in that bot lane. And I was going to say I could give them the benefit of the doubt that maybe they didn't walk into the brush or didn't walk into the pit to see the pink ward that spotted them hitting onto the Dragon, but they did it on top of a skull crab. So there was absolutely no way that they didn't know that Los knew as well. And both of these sides sort of playing with full information. It is Furia who come out on top and take that first Dragon, which is very, very important for them. That they're able to deny that away from Los Grandes. Again, I'm looking at their composition and thinking that they're the ones that have to push the pace of this game a little bit faster. If they take their time all too much, they're going to get to a point where the Scion's unkillable, where the Xayah is able to dart between everybody and find that really easy uptime on DPS, and where Tuts probably just starts assassinating.
That's what they're kind of watching for here. I do give you a lot of credit for that one, because I like the fact that Furia have already kind of pushed that envelope, making sure that that timer is actually a little bit faster. Last game, it was, I think, 2 Dragons handed over to Los very, very cleanly. It's what put them in that position of sitting on sole point very early on in the game. So for Fury to grab that first Dragon and now look to kind of push that envelope as well, means that Los are going to be kind of pinched into this position of, we got to make a play in terms of laning action. Instead, we're going to have to find and force some of these fights where we don't have as clean access. We don't have that ability to easily shut down an opponent and get that tower dive going. You see JoJo running around the corner here, trying to look for a lane gank, but Ackerman's in the exact same spot, and I think Ackerman having that disengage available is going to deter any sort of action from Furia.
Yeah, no tidal wave just yet. They don't have to use that when JoJo went for an engage down on that bot side, but you're quite right that just the extra body is doing quite enough to keep Feisty safe. Really small thing that Tuts is doing here, whenever he sees the seismic shove channeled, he's pressing his own W to get that burst of movement speed, dodge away. Just one of the small micro interactions that you can have as the Ahri, which makes this matchup that little bit more favorable. Obviously, the Ahri innately feels like against a Talia, a champion that can put rocks down and stop your movement, is going to be a pretty tricky matchup, but it's good to see that Tuts is finding ways to make it that little bit more favorable for him as well.
Upside, we take eyes at the wet noodle fight, which is seeing Zest get that gold lead, maybe not as heavily accelerated as in game number 1, but kind of close enough, hoping to build into that Triforce as soon as possible. Be able to start chunking out the likes of Gigo at a much higher pace. TP, though, straight over to that ward, scouted out, though, by Feisty and the rest of the squad. I like that. Feisty's like, not going to allow this as easily. Takes out one ward, has to leave the other.
Yeah, and this is the power, I suppose, of having the enhanced wards. They have that little bit extra HP. Usually with a sweeper, on your own, you can take out 2 wards if you see them together. However, as a mage, you don't build the attack speed, and with them having 4 HP, it means that you can't actually weave 8 auto attacks in during the time of your sweeper. So they do have to expend a second one. Drake Hero going to be happy to take that one for himself, but both of these guys have got 2 stacks up and ready, looking to pivot their way into this mid lane. Obviously, first Dragon went the way of Fury. We've got a second one spawning in about 80 seconds time. Does mean that both of these teams need to start thinking about who's going to set up for it, who's going to be in that advantageous position. Wouldn't think that Los are willing to give up too many of those. They've got a 1k gold lead. They've got this slight onus on them to make something happen. And maybe look to do that through the bot lane. Dudu here with that Essence Reaver already combined and ready to go. You'd like to think that he is the top earner for their team and try and make something work.
They are going to take a little bit of space here, taking a look at a clear line of sight. It's been relatively quiet once more. Much more quiet state than I feel like back in game number 1. But Dragon is up in about 35 seconds. Of course, we're looking at about 12.5 minutes with Herald on the rise in 2.5. So a couple objectives here and there that Los and Furia might have their eyes on. But Dudu and Ackerman fully focus on trying to push IU out of the laning phase once more. Culling doing so much work for IU's HP bar. Now that they know it's down, plus the bubble, can at least clear the way for Furia's side.
He's going to need a recall here for the Xayah, but overall, Los Grandes making this Lucian Nami lane look pretty good. Obviously, a couple of slight flubs early on as Dudu wasn't able to get out of that early route and did end up falling, but finds himself 15 CS to the good. Going to add a little bit to that tally here with the push underneath the turret. Dragon Spawn, though, does mean that the Xayah has got as much of her gold spent as possible, where Dudu still not quite completed on those daggers, I guess, more than anything going into it. So it shouldn't be too much of a discrepancy as far as those AD carry items go. But looking at the rest of the Rift here, you've got Malignance picked up for Tuts. I think Yomu's is going to do a lot of work as well. And actually looking at this, I expect that Furia have got a slightly better outing into this fight.
Well, Dragon started up here. Los kind of throwing down the challenge card here for Furia. Tatu waiting off on the wings. Dragon is taking quite slowly, but both top laners getting ready for this engagement. Where are they going to TP into is the big question. Ward behind for one. Tut's already on the back end, though, so that's a pincer for pincer. Tatu with a really nice empowered shock blast. Hands on the back of Drake here. This Dragon taking down a little bit. It's a long wait, though. There's another TP. Weaver's Wall goes out, but Tuts denied as they have to dash away. Dragon stolen away by Furia's side, as now they look to pinch even further. In goes the quickness. Jojo, though, watches as their jungler gets annihilated on the back end. Tatsu going feisty. You're running the wrong way. That's going to be Los chasing into the opposite direction. This is a 1 for 2 so far, but Zest able to run a couple other members out as Gigo fell on the far end. Los lose a Dragon and lose out on the gold kills as well. Furia, very nice pickup.
Overall, a massive win for Furia there. They walked in, took the Dragon, which had been leashed. They found 2 kills onto Drake Hero and Feisty, who are 2 pretty big proponents of damage. Hold on.
Ooh, okay, I like this. Tatu coming around the edge once more. Empowered Shock Blast is going to miss, though, as Dudu tries to dash on in, try to get a pinch on IU's life. But Zest, around there, forces the rest of Furia to walk away from the tower. No further engagement in death.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that Tatu probably can go in there. I mean, maybe he forces the barrier out of Dudu, but he then knows that Zest might end up taking him down on the flip side. Overall, a pretty scrappy back end to all of that, and Los Grandes do come away with some semblance of a win by taking down the tier 1 turret. I think that's of little consequence, especially when Furia were able to gain so much before all that. Tuts did very well going in, using his health, using as well his ability to escape in that fight, and picking up 2 kills in for 1. You picked up the second Dragon as well. Furia, your absolute victors from that. But Los Grandes extended the gold lead. So, yes, the kills and the objective went the way of Furia, but that gold, that ever-present stat burden, really, that Furia have got to battle up against, not going their way.
I mean, they've done so in the past, but at the same time, I don't fancy their opportunities here. Jojo trying to lay some wards down, not enjoying that fact. Zest, though, long lane to run down this poor Gigo, and Gigo forced an unstoppable onslaught out to safety. He's going down on the top side, though, as Feisty is looking for a chance as well. Charm is going to land. Tuts landing a lot of good damage, 60% gone for Feisty's HP bar. And that's going to alleviate any further pressure, but Feisty forced to Weaver's Wall out. Good job, top side. Kind of de-escalated for the moment.
Yeah, he took a massive chunk and then decided, I'm going to use my defensive spell on the wave. So no surprises that Tuts looks for that. Did go back to base, TP's back in, so it's got full HP, full mana back, ready to go. Tuts going to do the exact same thing, you'd imagine. He said actually he recalls, goes back out to the bot side, and it's Los Grandes who secure themselves at this Rift Herald, and Furia spend a little bit of time working their way into the bot side jungle. Zest not particularly the target that they would like to focus out, and just a Gnar working his way through the bot side is going to be able to get away with that.
I'm sorry. I love that Zest looked one way and then saw Jojo pop out the other. I was like, bro, they're everywhere. They're in the trees right now. I love it. Poor Zest is like, I just wanted to go back to lane, man. That's all I wanted to do. Ackerman spotted on multiple wards as well. Bot side lit up like a Christmas tree for Furia's side, as they're starting to look at this next Dragon. So far secured 2 for themselves, looking to put themselves on soul point.
And it is a Cloud Soul here for Rakan. Pretty impactful. For Sion as well, very funny. Same thing for Ahri as well. So we'll get to see whether or not there's a real big bonus going their way also. But getting that slow resist can be really important. Leas have started opting into Rylai's second as well. So not going to be nothing if they pick those on up. And that gold lead that we talked about for Los just crept down a little bit here. It's slowly petered away, and obviously their composition we're expecting to be that little bit stronger early on. Now Lucian Nami now with this massive spike Imperial mandate on the Nami with rapid fire cannon and a little bit of crit behind the Essence Reaver as well. Does mean that a dash forward and a couple of autos is going to be pretty devastating to try and tank. And IU on the flip side of things, very far away from that second item, which you would assume is going to be the Infinity Edge with the BS Sword in his inventory.
It always feels kind of bad because even IU knew that you weren't going to get that free farm style. Went for the Cole once more. This is the second game in a row where they've been kind of forced into that window. So, you know, it takes a little bit more time, but you finish it up. Now you can go ahead and recall, sit on that bank for a while. And as you said, try and build up, try and catch up to the Lucian Nami, who are going to exert their pressure over the next maybe 2 or 3 team fights that are going to show up. You can see they're 8.8 in terms of the total gold for Roodood right now, and power that by Ackerman, who is leading over JoJo. So many things kind of going right for that Lucian. Is Los going to be able to utilize Lucian in the upcoming fights, or are they going to be relegated to clear the wave, fall back, clear the wave, fall back?
Yeah, and if it is that last
okay.
one, probably a big problem.
Oh, JoJo multi-caught out, but able to get that second dash off, is safe for the moment.
Herald goes down, though, and you can see this tier 1 turret is the focus. Dudu fires out.
And Tuts having to walk away from that Worked Earth, not liking those turnstones. Another empowered shock blast landing on the back end. That first strike doing quite well. In the meantime, though, with all the action mid and no death, it leaves time for Zest to clear this top side in expeditious fashion.
Yeah, and it feels like a bit of a ticking time bomb here. There is going to be a breakpoint where Gigo cannot stave off the power of the Gnar. Going to have a Black Cleaver in his inventory pretty soon, and then any extra armor built up is going to get shredded. Now, as Mega makes his way down to the bot side, Los Grandes, they haven't found a dragon yet this game, but feels like this time around, Furia recognize actually we've bitten off a bit more than we can chew. We can take that one.
And they get it for free. It feels like Zest is drawing more and more attention from game number 1 with the equalizers to game 2 with just their giant presence on the map. It's getting worse and worse, and for Furia, you have to start recognizing that Gigo cannot be the only one on the top side consistently losing out on the push. Gigo's main strength is in the team fights. This Scion is supposed to be the chunky frontliner, and look at that. For a tower versus, what, 2 plates total? For Gigo, Zest is like, I'll take that all day long.
And as he should, right? He's got Black Cleaver now finished. He's going to work his way down to that bot side, try and take those easy plates off of the tier 2 turret down there. I mean, I don't really think that Tuts can match him either. This is a 2-item Gnar who's going to be accelerating in experience. He's going to be in a very easy, very, very positive position through this, honestly, through the rest of this game in the side lane. So, very worried for Furia in that side lane. As we get a quick glimpse here at the runes for IU, as nothing particularly out of the ordinary here. Presence of Mind and I think cut down, knowing that he's going to try and go up against some higher HP members, but nothing particularly crazy here.
I think, you know, for the current moment, you can see IU running a lot more of that lethal punch combo, but not as much attack speed as we normally want. Now, granted, the attack speed can be buffed out with the Rakan. Obviously, when you have Xayah Rakan, has that kind of lover's bond set up in there, so you can seal away, but for the moment, those auto attacks aren't going to, I feel, fly as fast as you fully expect. Now, JoJo, though. JoJo, waiting for a chance at a buff, has to jump away because guess who's in the Wings Drake hero still hunting for a chance to punch, but there comes that culling once more. Body block not even going to work. Weaver's Wall now cutting off multiple on the far end, which allows a catch straight onto the side of Furia. Down goes Tatu in the blink of an eye, an assassination, if you will.
Yeah, and Ayu's just sat watching on the other side of the wall, can't contribute. And with no jungler, Los Grandes know exactly what their mission should be. They turn tail, they head to the Baron. 20 seconds before Tartu's back. Zest looking for a play with Mega, but that is going to run out soon.
Wow.
And there is an opportunity here for Furia to make something good happen.
Yeah, it was a 3-way play, and honestly, Furia could have tried to pinch on 1, but 1 out of 3 is not what they want. Instead, they get 0 out of 3. Baron still being ticked away. And Furia trying to push in on the lower side. Wave goes out, slows them all down. Very nice shove back. Jojo does not want to engage. Baron weaned down to about 1.5. Good charm lands on the back end, and it will be stolen by Drake Hero. Drake Hero actually not stealing anything, just taking what they deserve, and now going to try and scatter for their life. The price to be paid is a hero's death. It will be the Vi going on down, at least biding time for the moment.
Yeah, and I think that 3 kills, is it just 2 in fact, that they pick on up. So Zest falls, Drake Hero falls, but Feisty, Dudu, and Ackerman all able to get out there and not lose out on their Baron buff. I think they'll be quite happy as Los Grandes with that trade. It's a 2-for-1. You count the pick onto Tartu earlier, and they get the Baron here, so now they can really start to put some legwork into those side lane structures. Let's try and take a tier 2 turret. Try and open up that gold lead even further.
With Furia walking around, just waiting for a moment until Drake Hero comes up. It is a sort of power play moment for Furia, at least in the vision control. You can see them dropping a massive amount of wards closer towards that mid lane status, just trying to make sure they catch eyes on where anyone decides to enter. Another culling Dudu. Just really want to get a culling kill, by the way. IU, that is like the 3rd time you've eaten 75% of the culling, and the 3rd time you're sat under 50%.
He's going to have to recall here, and again, important timing. We've got a minute left on that Drake spawning. I would have loved to stay out, get enough gold for that 3rd item to be finished, but it's not going to be the case here. Has now got a little bit of attack speed to back him up, but overall, I mean, across the board, really, it's gold leads for Los Grandes. Yes, Tartu's got a slight advantage over Drake Hero, but we look at the experience, and Drake Hero's half a level up over the Jace, which at this point is amounting to a level. And Los Grandes here trying to make the most of this, trying to take this tier 2, but there's a TP deep behind.
It's not only that, double TP, actually. It's going to be a flank opportunity. It's a 4v5. Good way to slow them down, but it doesn't slow down. Giga 1 bits. The Scion is finally unleashed, and Furia take full advantage. Push on through of 3. Tuts able to live on the back end. And Zestin Feisty did not like that spice on that fight.
No, they just wiped the floor with Los Grandes, right? They pushed forward. Tried to take that turret, and they did not do their due diligence. There's a great lingering ward. Shout out to Jojo for having just that little bit of a glimpse into the river. Gives a great angle for Gigo and Tuts to make their way down. And they put a stop to the Baron push. They get themselves now to Soul Point, and that gold lead that Los Grandes worked so hard to build up is all but gone.
I mean, you can even see that gold lead dissipate and go straight over to the negative Baron power play. 2.1k down. It feels bad to see that number directly on your side, but that's what's gone on. Feisty now unknowingly getting chased a little bit as Tuts was sitting on top of that brush. For Los, you start to recognize that it's gotten a little bit later into the game, and you're not fully excited about that fact. You talked about the scaling from Furia, and they have definitely pushed that time card up a little bit further. They're looking to clock out of this game quickly and head to game 3.
Yeah, I think this is where we start to look at where does your damage come from. Dudu going to be working towards that Infinity Edge, which is a long ways away. He's going for the Brokey build path at this point. Crit Cloak plus a pickaxe. Where's my BF sword, Dudu? You know, this is how we dictate how well the game is going, and he finds himself at this stage with a pretty awkward build path, working his way towards that 4th item. But this is another replay of how all of it broke down. Just notice here how Tuts takes it slow. From that TP, he was the first one to arrive, but he waits for Gigo to get in. And Zest and Feisty think that they're running anchor. They think they're stopping an entrance. What they're actually doing is being nowhere near the fight. And it does just give a 5 versus 3. One where actually this mid-jungle duo for Los Grandes weren't able to contribute.
And it feels good for Furia's side. Remember back in game 1, they drafted this really strong engage initiation combination, and it never really got off the ground. I don't think we ever saw a concise team fight from them in game number 1, because Los was constantly pulling them apart. This time Furia quite literally just kind of pull that trigger and say, even if we fail, we at least get 1. We just need to be concise in where we make our calls. We need to collapse in on the right opponents, and they are rewarded heavily. Now, for Los, even though they had a negative Baron power play, they are still up about 500 gold. What they're down on is the Dragon. And yes, there is no Dragon currently on the board for themselves, but they still have very good punching power in the solo catch threat, which is why Gigo was forced out with the Unstoppable Onslaught, and Zest has been given a lot of free reign over this bot side because this jungle has been cleared by Los, and it does grant them their 4th tower of the game.
Yeah, we are starting to see that Furia have started to reallocate where their gold is going. Tartu's picking up a few waves here and there to make sure that he's able to get the gold that he needs, but Drake Hero not really too far behind either. Actually, you know, these two junglers dead even for most part, other than the gold. Finally, Dudu fires a culling that doesn't have its desired effect. 2 minutes left on the soul here that Furia would love to pick up for themselves. I think that could be the thing that pushes the pace of this game. The allure of an Elder will definitely make these two teams, again, quite hot under the collar. But this is very reminiscent of game number 1, Orbital. That Baron aside, it's another game where we're heading into this mid-game scenario, and neither one of these teams have got a decisive advantage. With Los Grandes finding the Baron, I thought that was going to be them wiping away game 2, pushing us to a 3rd game at match point. It doesn't quite happen, and it actually means that we're still waiting for that team to take a decisive advantage.
I actually agree with you, because as much as we saw Furia take a good team fight, that would have been a decisive advantage if they weren't down 0 towers. They haven't cleared any of the towers. It would be an advantage for Los, who have 4 towers to 0, and yet they haven't been decisive in their team fight wins. I agree with you. It's very kind of seesawy in who is going to take that lead come this fight. Now, granted, in about a minute and a half, it will be a forced decision because Furia have a chance on that soul. For Los, they're not focused on that. They're not focused on hunting for that dragon right now. They're focused on trying to get some sort of kill for themselves, and they can't wave out just to deny any further push on this tower. Gigo on the flank actually scared Ackerman and Dudu just a little bit. So the showing of force is there for Furia, though. Still playing with a lot of open weight. Everyone fairly healthy.
Okay, Dudu does go back to base, picks up the Infinity Edge there. Now Zest has caught out Gigo, who is again forced to use that ulti. Loses about 1,000 HP, probably isn't going to be able to recall and get back out without expending the teleport here to get that HP back. He is Sion, that ult is going to be up probably in time for the dragon. But I think here, as Los Grandes, I'm looking to get my gold onto the Talia. Let's see if we can get the death cap on Feisty before we look to try and take this fight. Yes, we've hit Infinity Edge for Dudu, but hitting that double up of critical item thresholds would be massive for them because they've struggled in team fights, and Fury have just double TP'd down to the bot side. Los Grandes haven't got vision around this Baron setup, but they might just rip it anyway.
Yeah, they're going to, and they don't recognize that they are, okay, now it is fully eclipsed by that vision, so Furia might actually just give it up. They're not applying any pressure. They're saying this soul is going to be much more important. We've waited out 30 minutes already. What's another 3.5 or 4 minutes, if you will? That is going to be a Baron power play for the next 3, but for Furia, a permanent Cloud Soul for themselves.
This is a gamble here by both sides. We'll see whoever ends up coming out on top of this one. Obviously, Cloud Soul, not known for its combat power, but definitely going to be pretty good at making sure Furia can shift around the map that little bit better. But Los Grandes have already used one Baron and used it pretty suboptimally, if we may be so bold as to say so. Looking at the flip side, Ayu doesn't quite have that 4th item finished. Feisty did go back to base and pick up that Rabadon's death cap, so any fight right now for Los you would think is going to be winning.
We do say that, however, some of their pieces of that pinch are starting to get worn down a bit. Zest on the top side wants to keep pushing on their own. Feisty just looking to try and chew through Gigo, who, once again, is very, very tanky right now. That is a 4-man kind of punch to the back of the head. Gigo just walks away, only losing 1/3 of their HP. Finally, that tower goes down. We're looking at a 6-1 tower count. The Baron team is slowly working through, making up for their minus 2.3 earlier, sitting at 1.7 with a minute 45 remaining.
So a good injection here, taking those tier 2 turrets out. They do need to break open the base. Again, remember, we said, as this game gets later, we reach parity, we're expecting Furia to have a slightly better time of things here. But
oh, what a slam! Tatsu once again on this chase. Did it early game, now into the late game. Another tidal wave to slow things down, but Roodood eats it on the back of the head. Quickness comes in, great catch onto one, and this is Furia starting to open up. Tuts tries to jump away, and is going to do so as they draw poor Tuts into the dark. Well played by Furia as the Cloud Soul gives warrant for the chase down and a half. Los is going to try and skitter their way around, but Tatsu comes out of the darkness and says, your life is completely forfeit.
Goes over and pushes them all back, though. I think he's going to be able to get out with the redemption. Maybe. Yeah, so the Gnar lives, but again, this is another Baron push failed by Los Grandes.
Yep.
This is Furia stopping and slamming the door in their face, using their better team fight and using their late game scaling. It's Tuts, who just catches Feisty over a wall. I mean, you feel bad for Feisty there because he's sat on a pink ward, thinks he's safe, but Tuts has clearly seen something, clearly found some way to spot the angle and spot the Talia, takes them down without really any problems. And shout out to the rest of Furia as well. As soon as they saw that there was a pick on the cards, they went all in and tried to do what they could to take it down.
And I love this right here. I thought Zest was dead to rights. I thought it was going to be there, but it felt like everyone kind of scattered away and said, hey, no big deal. We aren't going to watch the rest of that because it doesn't result in a kill. Instead, we're taking a look at the fact that 3 minutes away is going to be the next major objective. And for my eyes, it's 3 minutes towards that Elder. Los so far have completely given up on those dragons, but this time it's a dragon that you cannot give up. Your composition cannot bear the weight of destruction that will come your way if there's an execution threshold of about 10% on your head.
I think that's I mean, if this game wasn't already at a very thin margin for breaking points, it's the Elder is just that great end game buff that should push this game to its natural end. Los Grandes fishing, thinking, how can we make our way back into this one with Feisty not particularly receiving a lot of gold. Zest level 20 on the Gnar, maybe he's a bit of a power point.
Very nice Feather Storm, though. Ayu goes up and is able to stay alive. Fight on the far end as Drake Hero looks to get a punch, but it's only Gigo. Tuts, though! TP'd straight into the fray, and all of a sudden, it's Los that had the right opportunity. No death comes through, but my god, that was scary for Furia.
Yeah, double also from the Lucian and some lingering spells off the back of it. It took him to, I mean, literally 10% HP there. He's able to get out, and that's all off of Los just deciding that they fancied themselves a little bit of something there.
Yeah.
I mean, we take a look at the kill score here, Orbital. I just want to remind people of the state of this game. Los Grandes have had 3 kills this entire game. Furia have been dominating in these fights, but when we look at the map, when we look at how well they've been able to navigate it, it has been Zest on that side lane. Almost the Tryndamere experience, constantly making a meal for Furia to try and deal with.
Not just that, the fact that for Los, this is that true testing point. We mentioned that they haven't really ever played late game before, and now it's fully being tested 35 minutes into the game. One slip-up will be your undoing. You do not want that slip-up to come when you're on the cusp of maybe looking at that 2-0 scenario. We're looking at a 1.2k lead for Furia. The map state says a whole different story. Scuttle taken away, a lot of extra XP handed to their buckets. Wards cleared out. As the vision goes dark, yes, Furia are in the lead, but the map state says a completely different story.
Now starting to try and work their way through.
Another culling.
The culling coming through. A minefield from Feisty. Dudu, you can see, standing firm there, uses his ulti and forces Tartu back to base with 30 seconds on the Dragon. It's the final window. The Jace to get back to base, pick something up, can't finish their item, so instead going to look to pick up a red pot, you'd think. As this could very well be the final fight, or the fight that decides it at the very least. Able to get back out onto the map very quickly here with the Cloud Soul, with the Jace passive from his ulti, the movement speed from his Shock Blast as well. And they're looking for Feisty.
Oh, Gigo didn't want to go all the way through. If they did, maybe they would have caught Feisty there. But it's just going to be their charge to open up a little bit more space. Battle lines are being drawn. Keep eyes, though. Dudu actually picked up a QSS, which I didn't recognize, meaning a lot of that quickness may be diverted away, and Dudu might actually be allowed to play the game. But IU fully throwing down a lot of those feathers on a very healthy Elder, though. It's going to take a while to chunk on out. That's going to be the punch. Gigo taking a little bit low. Weaver's Wall just to get into the pit, and I don't know if that's what they want, but they found it. They found poor Tuts in the back line. Drake Hero going to have the same experience, but as he goes on up, it will be a trade out of the mid for a little bit of a top laner. Los losing out on that Gnar. Another shove though as Gigo might be chewed on through. Dudu is still alive. Dragon quite low at 3.5. It's smited away. And that will be Tatu to hang on to that execution. This leaves Los in a disastrous state at the end. At 37 minutes, Furia come alive. And that is an ace for Furia's end.
They need to find a wave though, Orbital. They've got one coming through the mid lane. It's going to get escorted in by Gigo here. 4 members strong with that Elder. Tatu came up clutch when he needed to. He's been struggling a lot through this series, but he and IU stand firm in. They find the Elder, and they may well just even up this series.
It took 37 minutes, but the problem that plagues Los, same thing as before. Late game, it looks iffy, and Furia take advantage. TP into the base as well. 16-4. You might have had more turrets for the time being, but we had the mid lane entrance. Down goes Zest once more, and that's is game number 2. The Shokugeki is fully underway as everyone is cooking all the way to a game 3.
A redemption here for Furia and a redemption for Tatu in game number 2. His start to this series has been pretty quiet, if nothing else. Hasn't really had that dominant display that we saw from him up against Leviathan. It's been Drake Hero really running the show, but throughout the entire game, really, his Jace was the one part of the map that was up in gold. It was always ahead of Drake Hero in the gold aspect, even if not so much the experience. But he was constantly looking for that poke. He was the one who was actually able to find that crucial smite in the end game. It was a good old flip. It was a 50-50, as neither of the junglers ever wanted it. But it was Tatu that came out on top with it, and he's the one who will push with the Elder now. Furia to a game 2 victory, a even scoreline in this series as well.
And for Los, it feels bad. Zest doing so much work on the top side of the map, and it felt like Feisty was almost there as well. There were glimmers, and we were really hopeful after that game 1 that Los were shaking off those kind of doubts in the back of our minds, but then it reared its head again. 32, 33 minutes in the game, they faltered. Now, was it composition? Sure. It wasn't really meant for late game, but their late game still has a lot to work on, and now I'm hoping that in game number 3, they're able to bounce back and give us a great on-show. This is going to be a full BO5 at the end of the day, it feels like. So Roodood, we're going to go to a short break. When we come back, more CBLOL action on the front. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Game 3 ahead of us, and Roodood, more doubts are creeping back into my mind about Los, but Furia waking up at the 11th hour to take a very strong endgame, and we're now set at 1-1 in the series.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams have left a little bit to be desired. When we look at our early games, we haven't had a fully fledged just stomp yet. And it feels like both of these teams are playing very meticulously versus one another. Not either side being able to really take the game by the scruff of the neck and run home with it necessarily. That time round, though, Los, they had 2 Barons and they still lost that game. Like they really struggled, to be honest with you. If you didn't catch it, Los Grandes, a side that again we've been concerned about their late game, not because we've seen it be bad, but because we've not seen it. Period. This is now reflecting in that game where they had that opportunity in the late game with 2 Barons at their back and they weren't able to close out with it.
It's not only that, the draft didn't help them either, so this time around, maybe we look a little bit more towards late game insurance. If you're going to reach that 30 to 35 minute mark, let's see what they do as we're headed back. Furia still on that red side. Listen, it's going to so haunt me if Furia are being given this ever looming threat of red side value. But looking at the bans this time around, it will be a much different Stoke. No Malphite ban or anything like that, but a first pickup of Rise that I believe was banned out back in game 1.
Yeah, so we get a opportunity for your Anivia to come through here as well. If Tuts is looking at this with bated breath and open arms, and they immediately take the Ashe here. Now, there's a world where the Seraphine gets denied by Ackerman, but Seraphine without the Ashe isn't particularly seen, let's say, globally. But it does feel like that Seraphine is going to get locked in on 3 for Jojo. Now it's a question of whether or not Los want to deny that, because I think the fact that they've taken away the Xin here means that they're losing Seraphine or Anivia, which are your go-to answers or go-to things that I would expect Furia to want with this composition. They need something that is going to pair up nicely with the Ashe, and they want something that might match well into the Rise. For my money, I think Furia here, they take the Seraphine, they secure that 2v2, and then they roll the dice on which mid laner they get. If you lose Anivia, you can get Cassio, you can get other things that answer the Rise. It doesn't have to be that Anivia one-to-one for it. So we'll see what it is that Furia do, and we'll see if Loss even gives them the option here.
Oh, and it might be a whole different story, as right now this hen that was hovered back in game number 1 makes its full appearance. Now, in my eyes, I'm still looking at top lane for this specifically, but it is a wild pickup. Zest so far has had really good results in the individual, but plying into that mid to late is a whole different story. There's that Seraphine that you were talking about, though, matched up perfectly with IU for that Ashe.
And it is going to be these picks, these takeaways from the mid lane pool away from Tuts here. That Los can go for. Obviously, on the flip side of things, it's get rid of those hook champions. Let's get rid of things that can pick this bot lane and make their life difficult. Nautilus for 1, maybe even Blitzcrank for 2. Let's be honest here. A very possible ban that Ackerman has looked toward in the past. But we'll keep our eyes out for what it is that he looks to do and what it is that Los Grandes actually look to ban out as well. Taking away some powerful picks, those powerful mid-range mages. Very worthwhile. As far as those bans are to be considered.
Yep, want to make sure that Scat of the Week doesn't land as neatly. Bot lane want to make sure that Seraphine is safe. Jojo has had some impeccable moments, especially in that last game on the Recon, having the entrance with that quickness and making sure the opponent can't get away. This time with the Encore is making sure they don't get themselves caught with the low HP bar. Flip side, for Los, last man to come through, you could look to mark out that mid lane. You were talking about the Cassiopeia, maybe that Anivia as well, but instead it's a push up towards that top lane. Yigo losing out on the Cassante. So here comes that pick that we are waiting for. Furia, what will they lock in here? Will you look to match a blind pickup, or are you looking to try and gather up that mid lane options fully available? At the end of the day here with time ticking down, and it's option.
It's got to be. It's got to be mid
Called
lane
it.
first off.
Yeah.
I mean, and yeah, the Anivia comes through. I mean, I think Furia are getting pretty much what they want from this, right? You see the Rise, you want to take an Anivia into that most frequently. You were able to get Ashe Seraphine. Los Grandes decided they didn't want to give up or didn't want to take Seraphine and deny the duo. And now we find ourselves in this position where the Anivia is going to have insane value versus Rise, Jhin, just as a flat baseline. Anivia does really well versus champions that are immobile. So if you lock in another immobile pick, I think that this is a really good pick that gives Anivia agency, because Mundo has the CC shield, right? He can't be CC'd, but he can still be walled off. He can still not be allowed to enter a fight because of the great big wall in his face. So I think that, again, this Anivia is going to have a lot of value, and we'll see whether or not Tuts is able to really pilot it the way that I'd like him to.
Yes!
And again, what we were talking about, you're not going to ban this champion. It makes sense that they pick it up.
Yeah, I like the Anivia, but that Blitzcrank is such a bully moment right there. I 100% agree with it, and now we're gonna see even crazier. So Los going away, putting that Zehen possibly mid, and on the flip side, Furia picking up the Jax at the tail end of the day, taking out their aggression in a auto attack matchup. I like what we're seeing here. It's a big divert away from what we've seen in the earlier games. This one feels much spicier and a lot less coordinated between everyone on the map.
Yeah, and I think that this is one where I'm looking at champion pool depth, because I really, really think that if Los could swap their top side around, I think that the Zehen is going to have a good enough time versus the Xin Zhao, and that actually Dr. Mundo versus the Jax, you're probably not too worried about that as Dr. Mundo, right? The stun that the Jax can put in is negated by your canister. The Zehen that is going to have all of his auto attacks blocked by the helicopter from Jax isn't going to feel it as much as we move into this game. As it is, the Mundo finds his way into the jungle. The Jax is going to be very happy in that top lane matchup, and importantly, it's going to be Gigo on that Jax, one of his more signature picks that we've seen from him. And again, a lot of people in both of these games getting exactly what they wanted, and both of the teams just sort of saying, you know what, game 3, neither of us are winning here. Let's have a bit of fun. You can have what you want.
You can have fun. It's only our lives on the line. No big deal. You know, it's only a loss and going home and kind of disgrace heading out of the CBLOL Cup here. There's no pressure on you at all, but that's maybe the mentality that you need heading into a match that could decide. You need to have that flexibility. You need to have that comfort headed on in as we are going to a game number 3. Fans in the stands repping their teams with pride as we get to see who breaks the stalemate of the 1-1 and starts this maybe thought of BO3 in good standings.
Winner of this takes us to their match point, and for Furia, an expected victory here. Los Grandes, I think that, again, beginning of the season, everybody in the Los Grandes camp would be happy to say that they finished 4th, ahead of names like VKS, like Pain Gaming. As it is, as the season has developed, our expectations of Los have been increased ever more, and for me, I think that it would be all too familiar to see a team that does so well in the regular season just bomb out of playoffs. I mean, if we've got any old school LCS fans, Immortals 2017, that roster, the 17-1, glorious regular season into Disaster Road springs to mind.
How dare you bring back such difficult memories? How dare you, Rude?
I know. Gotta show my age a little bit. There are kids here who don't know that Immortals were a League of Legends team, okay? And that's a thing that we have to reconcile with.
Well, okay, I love playing this game because it's very fun watching some of the audience members kind of flummox a little bit. What's the oldest item you remember in League of Legends?
Mine was DFG. I think that was and Sword of the Occult. Those are the ones that I feel like got removed the earliest. I didn't play in Heart of Gold. I didn't play during like Spirit of the Elder Lizard, you know?
Yeah.
Jungle items. That wasn't me.
Oh, mine were Twin Shadows. That was the big one. And then the second biggest for me was Wriggle's Lantern. Only because it meant I never got to see my jungler for ages. Like, you just didn't see your jungler for a while. Those are old, man.
Didn't they brought Spooky Ghost back, or they didn't get removed for ages at least? Because I remember there was the season where you had Glacial Augment and Spooky Ghosts, and you used to run that, and then Hextech GLP for more lost items.
Oh my god, yeah, Oh my god, I remember that combo now.
Yeah.
All right, well, taking a look here as we went down memory lane, Gigo's going down top lane as a little bit of proxy happens. Here's the hen stuck underneath the tower as Zest is just looking to kind of farm up. And for Gigo, it's farm time. You knew the jungler's on the bot side, might as well.
Yeah, he's going to be able to get that wave, get a very good recall coming on through, and hopefully not have to expend his teleport. He doesn't have too much mana. Good hook.
And it's a good grab as well. Jojo, though, kind of standing their ground, hanging on for dear life, and it's the Ghost and Heal being used at the end of the day.
No, both of our top laners. Yeah, Gigo didn't have the mana to proxy a next wave, and he sort of wasted time thinking that he could, and in the end, the proxy gets him a little bit more towards a top quest, but nothing particularly out of it. It doesn't get to save his TP, for example, which is, I think, what you're really looking to do when you do go for those proxies on a wave. Comes back out to this top side. Both of our top laners, Ruby Crystal. We want to be healthy. Fight on this top crab, though, now, as neither Tartu nor Drake Hero have yet to recall.
Nope. Drake here healing up quite a bit, and now just trying to throw those cups in the back of the head. Ripping that old school action. Headphones on. Ripped buff shirt, and Tatu just off on the wings like, dude, I can't contest with the absolute Chad energy that Drake Hero is throwing down there. Gigo getting knocked up as well. The fight over the scuttle is done. Drake Hero will secure that one.
Also going on a trip down memory lane there, if I'm not mistaken. Is that TPA Mundo that I'm seeing?
Oh my god,
Drake
yes.
Hero? So,
yes.
season 1, season 2 champs? Or season 2 victors? We've got some good old throwbacks here, everyone.
Oh god, what was it? I forgot that I think there was one of the old TPA members from the championship roster didn't get recognized in solo queue. I think it was, and it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. They were like, "Really? Is that you?" And it was just a funny interaction. I wish I remember that. God, my brain is on one today. I don't know what's going on, Rude.
In not too short a time, we're gonna have people who were born after Fnatic won Season 1 in competitive.
Oh god, don't say that. We're also going to watch as someone will be sent to the death realm as IU gets hooked one more time. No flash to be able to survive, and I think that was a little bit of a hold, but a very nice counterattack as Jojo uses the wave to help them secure a kill back. First blood on the bot side and a retaliation kill just as well.
Yeah, the wave getting held here means that overall Dudu going to be quite happy with that. He didn't burn either of his summoner spells, also being able to save his flash and his cleanse. Maybe he could have flashed out from the final high note, but he's got those tier 2 boots, the Swifties as well. Expect to see some good stuff coming out of this bot side. So far for Ackerman as well, 2 for 2 that we've seen on screen in terms of those rocket grabs, which you do love to see in this one as well. Definitely a pretty fine angle on this. Threads it, and you have to imagine he doesn't think he's in too much danger, but uses the lollipop angle of it all as well, and some really good work to do with some good side steps away from the E, but unfortunately not quite able to flash out of a double Q from Jojo. I think he could have lived there if he'd have done that, so a little bit of a misplay actually from the low squanners AD carry, costs him his life, but overall it's both supports getting the gold and both ADs dying.
And nobody is richer by the end of it because support lives don't matter. That is something I love to say, and it's completely not true. Please do not take that to heart, all support players. I much prefer watching you guys get gold and be happy about it as well. Ackerman, though, specifically, getting these hooks and having a bit more HP to play with in the front lines now makes it a little bit scarier just as well. Dragon taken away by Los as the Dragon stacking will occur, but look at this. Right back in Game 1 standard, Los applying a lot of pressure down, setting up for a bot side takeover by Los a little bit later into the game.
Yeah, and I think, again, we sort of play this game looking at the teams as they move later on into this match. Who do we favor? Now, in terms of upfront damage, it's clear it's night and day that Furia have got more, but their ability to do the damage is something that I'm very concerned about, because if they stand still for too long, they get hit by a rocket grab. We are seeing mid lane here. Good poke, good initial trade here from Tuts. If Furia are standing still, they're going to get caught by a Blitzcrank. If they find themselves trying to do DPS, that's not going to be easy.
Not at all, as Jojo gets hooked down again, but a good heal comes out and free fire from the other side. IU firing away with this Ashe early lethal tempo just creates so much damage that is very sneaky at the end of a trade.
And then on the other side of things as well, if we take a look at a good route coming through, Feisty's so quick, able to dodge out. If we look at the other side, how easy is it for Los to do damage? Well, you can see it depends a little bit on how well they hit these curtain calls, but
Oh
I
my
don't think
gosh.
that they've got particularly enough damage to weather the storm of a Seraphine healing Furia throughout this whole thing. So I think both of these teams are going to run into their own set of issues. If Los can hook somebody and one-shot them, then they'll be fine. But the second they get back to the healing, waiting arms of a Seraphine is when the problem starts to come through. That's when Ayu and Jojo are really going to start to come online. And just, based on vibes, what I'm thinking about this game, it's Furia who have got the outright advantage. They've got that ability to do consistent DPS and also to be able to sustain through some of that burst.
It feels like it's kind of been their go-to strategy as well through the regular season and to now, drafting these compositions that sustain, that are able to survive through a majority share, play a little bit towards that late game. It almost feels like the antithesis to Los here, who do thrive a little bit more in that early game. We saw them smash, and if you're able to sustain through, like you said, it's a free game. So for Los, it's how do you get over that hump? How do you deal with that situation of a team willing to counter you through the early game? Tatu, rounding the corner and getting a little bit more of an advantage. Just trade out that we normally see is for the first time in the series contested, but our eyes are actually drawn to the top side as Gigo forces out that ult from the cells, and Zest just kind of biding their time for a moment. Good draw back. Zest could look for the all-in, but with those grublings being fought over, it's a whole different story. Realm Warp being hauntedly used, but not fully engaged upon. So with that engagement, macro completed. Furia with 3 grubs.
All 3 grubs, like you say, there for Furia. Now, I don't think Tatu's going to be successful enough to stick around for a crab. Ackerman looking.
Another hook lands, but this time the encore is going to come out. Quick cleanse to work. Dudu steps on up. I had to reload and forces a flash out once more. Ayu very comfortable. Topside, though, another fight as Drake Hero is being forced to fight. Tuts, though, kind of out of mana, so can't stay. But Zest running for their life as well. Gigo is here to battle. So nobody wishes to continue that fight. Walking away, only a pink ward goes down.
Lots of pretty colours here, Orbital. Lots of pretty colours. Falls, though. And it is going to be...
Sparkles, sunshine.
Yeah, that's about all that there was. Okay, how good is the shot? Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Are you?
Okay,
Oh.
okay. Oh, no, that's prime. That's easily prime there. It's close enough, dude.
Yoink.
Feisty, no, that's my kill.
I mean, say what you will, that was a pure movement check, and that was a battle between the marksmen. Ayu got read like a book. He has tier 2 boots, and Dudu landed all 4 of those bullets. Walks up with a 4th shot prepped and primed on the turret and says, Ayu, you have ghost, no barrier. Good night, and just takes him down. That's a really big win for Los Grandes, and once again, this is a team who have played so well through the early game, through the entire season, and now they find themselves the 3rd game in a row with a slight advantage. Game 1, they were able to take it home. Game 2, they struggled. Can in game number 3, they give us something a little bit more convincing before this game gets out of their control?
Well, it might be in this 1v1 straight up. That's going to be a grim deliverance, but not delivered fast enough. Auto attacks flying as Flash into the brush resets everything, and Zest not having those last 3 as the timer ticks down. You ain't going to complete that one. Very, very close check.
Ackerman might just go for a one-shot here. He doesn't have Ignite, but he might just hook him and have the
there
damage.
it is.
There you go. And one of the small things here that I love to see, Ackerman uses his ulti, so the silence comes through so that Gigo can't use his E to then escape the knock-up from the Blitzcrank. It's a really small thing, but once again, good to see that the mechanics are on point. Furia are losing out now pretty much across the map. They just got killed bot lane, just been killed top side. Looks like the TP back down to the bot lane from Ackerman means he's going to be here for this Drake. They might get it, but can they get out?
Well, it's going to be a good snipe away. And so far, I will give credit. Tatu and Drake Hero, no steals amongst them. Just whoever's on it first generally gets that objective.
I mean, yeah, we had the big flip of the Elder. We've had the Baron as well in game number 1 that Tatu didn't quite manage to get in for, and that Drake Hero felt pretty good, stood firm around. Looking down on this bot side. I'll leave Drake Hero to clear that one out. Jin hates clearing wards, but there's so much vision down here. I think they know. Whether that stops anything, we'll see.
Yeah, encore, long range, baby, tail end of that bounce. That still leaves poor IU in a difficult position. One last axe to the back. Minion gonna auto attack and you're still alive. IU lives on a little, was that single digit HP?
Must have been very, very close to it, if not exactly. Just barely here. He's playing on the edge, and now they've hooked in Seraphine once more.
And it's going to be a disaster because Tatsu was here to aggress, and you're more than okay with that one. Furia picking up the pieces on the back end. Oh,
Still re-engaged, though. Good cleaver.
Yep. Any further? Drake Hero misses. Nah, you're not going to force that.
Yeah, as soon as he misses that Q, the re-engage is over. Maybe throw the Q before ulting next time to know if you want to recommit. Now they're diving top.
This dive is feeling a lot better. Feisty has been searching for some of these kills. Tuts is here, though, to play spoiler, and might be able to get it. Good slowdown, though. Feisty using that ghost to get into a repositioned aspect. Doesn't want to get caught in that glacial storm. No dice whatsoever, so we're still stuck at a 3-2 kill line.
Does make sense a little bit as to why they then immediately backed away. I was looking at that thinking, how on earth is Feisty not looking to kill Gigo there? Well, he knew that the enemy mid was also roaming, so he needed to be a little bit more safe in that facet. But IU now finishing off his role. Dudu obviously had that for a good little bit of time ahead of this, and now a Hex Flash over the wall. Ghost used. Now you're able to limp out to safety from that. Dudu here has got the Yo moves already finished and an extra crit cloak in his back pocket. Quick reminder as well, as Jin cannot gain any attack speed. Does gain extra AD from bonus attack speed, so that dagger equates to probably half of a longsword.
A little bit extra speed as well, which feels good if you're looking for a little bit more crit on that end, but so far sticking with the low crit chance. Good jump over the wall, though, as Zest denies another gank, and we're seeing a lot more spice. I do like this a lot. 14 minutes into the game, and we're still waiting for that big bluster, that big opening, neither side having that concise damage control. For Dudu, though, 3 plates in their hands, looking for a 4th if they can. Won't to be had, though, as everyone's just kind of dancing. Oh, my lord. Okay, maybe I lied, as Gigo taking a firm stance in this top lane. Bot side having that curtain call. I don't know what's going on. Everyone's just throwing abilities out.
Yeah. They're loving it, right? We're just testing. We're seeing what's going to happen, and I mean, Gigo here with the Dusk and Dawn, he's going for that more AP route, so going for the sort of one-shot your backline style of Jackson. Looking at the backline here, it's Dudu or Dudu that he's going to be looking for the one-shot. You don't particularly one-tap rises as AP Jax, just because of the amount of HP that you do end up building up. The Merc Treads as well going to offer a good amount of resistance, so with the Seraph Shield as well, it is going to make their life pretty darn difficult. Both of these sides here continuing to play this game of chicken. Nobody really confidently ahead in this early game. Yes, Los have got a small advantage, but again, I feel like as this game does move into its mid to late game progression, I feel a little bit more confident in what Furia can accomplish. Los Grandes is this composition of sort of champions. Don't really feel like they've got the burst to get through the Seraphine, and I think that this is a game that's going to come down to the supports during these 5v5s. Take a look at the Seraphine healing. Take a look at the amount of work that Echoes of Helia, that the combo with the new tier supporter enchanter item is going to be able to do. There's going to be so much healing there, but then equally, keep your eyes on Ackerman. If he lands a hook, that person dies.
It's really that simple at the end of the day. For Tuts, though, it's all about just trying to find Feisty's life. Trying to use that wall plus Glacial Storm. There's a hook, though, like you were talking about, but it's on a very tanky champion in Tatsu. Double ultimate being used here as Jojo tries to save their jungler, but now the chase is on. This is Fury collapsing on in. A one-trick pony of a Blitzcrank is taken out of the fight.
Ackerman falls, and with no pick, there's no real way into this fight.
Good counter strike. Feisty locking up poor Gigo in the top side, but Drake here taking a very dangerous path towards safety. And I love that Gigo is just fearless in fighting out against anyone that crosses their path.
And this is exactly what you need to do, really. As the Jaxes just continue to keep diving forward, keep making yourself feel like that menace that really you are. I think, are you unlucky not to get this turret here? One more auto would have secured it, but having a little bit too much faith in the minions, it doesn't really matter. A stiff breeze will take that down in a little bit of time here. They're going to pan to it. 30 HP here, which for old money is very, very low.
Yeah, it hurts as Gigo is running for their life. Feisty with that ghost and more. Chasing him down. There's a rundown. Feisty completes his mid lane quest in the top lane in one of the rudest ways I've ever seen.
in true mid lane fashion, able to accomplish success outside of your lane, which does feel pretty pretty on brand, to be honest. As now Los Grandes going to be a hair's breadth away from taking down their tier 1 turret. Maybe the minions will be able to do it. Go, cannon, go, go, go! No!
Oh my god, how much HP?
Surely
How much
less than
HP?
30. Observers, don't do us dirty like this. They're saying the same thing as we are. Get rid of that box in box.
It's on fire! We love it. It doesn't matter, though. This is going to be the dragon fight once more. Ackerman getting you down, but in goes Grim Deliverance. Good damage coming down, but not enough to really kill anyone. Because guess what? That's the same from Fury is so real. Look at the healing being pumped out here, but that's going to be a jump forward. Ackerman trying to line it up for Feisty, who TP'd to the back line. Yes, you might have gotten 2, but the flush is here for Los. Feisty, untouched in this battle, will neutralize Tatsu at the end. And that's his Los to clean up house in the most random mid lane fight ever.
Well, hold on now. Fury is going to be able to find the tier 1 turret here. Giga might have something else to say, as Feisty doesn't have that tier item finished just yet. There's that stiff breeze that takes down the tier 1 turret. It's a 3 for 2 overall, and the dragon did end up going to Furia. So overall, it's a relatively neutral trade, as we do get to see some of the power points on both sides. Tartu here flashes in, dashes to steal away that dragon. There's our first steal in this instance. Grim Deliverance buys a little bit of space here, but it's Ackerman as the martyr almost in this instance. Flashes in with his knock-up ready, spots out Ayu, and then a 4th shot from Dudu. From the skies, he's able to take out the Ashe, and from there, the fight does become a little bit easier. All that said, though, as you can see, Tartu absolutely cleaning house on this Xin Zhao. So unlucky to not quite find Zest as well. All of this in a 4v5 as well, Orbital, I hasten to add, as Gigo was not a part of that skirmish whatsoever.
I called it random, I must digress. You are 100% correct. Those dragons have been the bane of both squads, but also the lifeline for a lot of them. Los now in a little bit of a struggle period as they're down 1 dragon, but that gold lead has fluctuated quite heavily once more, all within about 1,800. As you can see here, Los now resigned, though, to try and clear that mid lane tower. It is literally on 5 HP. You can step on up, kick it over with your big toe, and Furia are just going to hang on for dear life on that one. Towards this mid-game, though, I'm very curious to see where Los decide to put a lot of their pressure. Those kills that went into Feisty's pocket should be a great side lane pressure point for them. Gives that Rise a lot more threat potential.
And that's what we'd hope.
Here we go.
At the very least, as the tier 1 turret finally falls there. Little pinky toe, as you'd mentioned, able to take down that one. Ends up being a bit more blunt force trauma from Dudu than we maybe needed, as they do wait here. They are spotted.
Okay, yeah, curtain call from the river is always a little bit surprising to see. No trajectory lined up there. Just, all right, that's pre-fired. Tatsu snipes away that scuttle, powered of course, and we go right back to the farming aspect. Los up 1k, not much more than that.
All right, and out we go, really. A little bit of time for Gigo to make something happen down in that bot lane, but neither one of these sides, again, feel like they've taken control of this. I think that there's obviously either a lot of respect or a lot of caution as these two teams play around one another and almost think about what this game can look like as it gets later. Again, for Los Grandes, they're a team that need to push the pace of this game, that we're expecting to see just slightly more from, for fear of how this game goes. They're living and dying by Ackerman and how well this Blitzcrank can carry them through. And if he does well, if he finds these hooks, then amazing. If he doesn't, that's when the problems really start to rise, and when I'm expecting Ayu and Tuts to start having these really, really big performances.
At the same time, I also really like the thought of Feisty being able to use that Rise to good effect. Currently 2, 0, and 1 building into the 3rd item once they hit that 3rd, and they also complete the full stacks on that Rod of Ages. The Rise can also be a very big menace in its own right. So not just Ackerman, but Los do have, I feel, more routes to victory than they normally do towards that late game. So I'm not as worried. I do agree. I want to see them play this late game a little bit better and maybe force these mid-game fights to be a little bit more pressure focused. But I give them credit. They aren't as lost in the late game as I feel the others were before. What I will say is that Pink Ward, though, getting a lot of investment here as poor Zest walking into enemy territory. Good sidestep, but you still got to use that Grim Deliverance to stay safe. Feels bad that you have to burn that. Patatsu, Crescent Guard used to split this fight. Ackerman flashing away here. Wall to draw Drake here away. But over the wall you go. Tatu saying, guys, let's fight. In comes a Railwart to get Feisty in position. Gigo now set up a little bit too far, but Ackerman only getting a knock up instead. HP Bar still alive as Jojo pumping up the music, and as he said before, healing the team a ton.
Yeah, and again, you can see if Los Grandes don't catch a crucial target, then bad things happen for them. It's the second time round. This time they hooked in Tartu, who was able to buy enough space, buy enough time, keep himself safe. There's
there
a big
it
hit.
is. Good flash away, though, and they turn it right on its head. Furia chomp down on one. Zets trying to kite for their lives, but there is no revive in your future. This is Los running for the hills. Dudu, Drake Hero, as well as Feisty scatter to the winds of Summoner's Rift.
And they're going to just throw out the cautionary Hawk shot to make sure there's nothing untoward here. That's Baron for Furia, and you're seeing the problems that come from this Blitzcrank. It's great if you can immediately one-shot, but Jojo was able to flash out. It meant that all of that healing could still come through. It meant that the Baron was going to go their way, and ultimately, it gave the free access for Tartu to get in, for Gigo to make his access, and for the rest of Furia to lay waste to Los Grandes.
I mean, I hate to say that you're correct because I know how much of a prophet you are, Rude. You called almost every single game to the marker now. And I was really hoping Los were going to be able to step up, but it is looking like the trajectory for this game is as you predicted. Furia now looking to put themselves on soul point, and with extra boon to go, a Mountain Soul would just be enough to kind of deter further damage from, say, a Jin Burst, from, say, a Zehen Burst coming out, from Feisty Spell Reel on that rise, giving time for Jojo to get the extra heals. We are looking at Furia to take charge in the next few minutes and press down and blow these 3 towers to maybe an inhibitor at the end of a push.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a very real possibility here, as we haven't actually seen Furia with a Baron just yet. We don't know what their what their late game looks like. So maybe this is going to be Furia absolutely destroying in this instance, and that they should be, quite easily able to do that. Let's see what their side lanes look like as well. I think that's something that was sorely lacking from Los Grandes, was that ability to use their side lanes in game number 2 effectively. So remember, a couple of deep TP plays sort of lost them purchase in that game. Now it's Furia, though, pushing in on that top side. Zest getting zoned away, so there's going to be some good damage down immediately from Gigo as he's just going to rip through that turret.
It's very, very comfortable. Feisty with a very feisty Realm Warp trying to cut off Tuts, but Tuts just floats to the top side of the map. Arrow goes completely wide, and that leaves poor Tatu in the fray, but you survive for long enough that you get time to neutralize the other support. That is going to be Zest going down, and then another catch. Bye-bye, Jin. This Anivia is getting its money's worth right now.
And that's why you can take this Anivia versus the immobile carries. Tuts walks up, walls the Jin off, knows that Dudu with no flash has no way out. He has to take that long way. It's a massive walk around the wall, and the rest of Furia absolutely slaughter him. This is that late game insurance that we were looking for. Another pick now as Ackerman going to fall under it all, and Los are just getting torn apart. He goes down in the bot side preparing another wave for success. They've got no mana, so they're going to have to back away, but Los Grandes have just crumbled.
And Furious say, hey, Los Grandes, that is how you play with the Baron. You called it out earlier. Punch open the enemy base. 2 towers and inhibitor. 3 if you count the bot lane. Perfect upend, and now you're primed for another Baron in 3 minutes, or the Dragon in 2:45. Just watch this play overall. Great catches, even with the arrow missing.
Yeah, Tartu, he knows all his job is just to try and buy space, and he's actually able to do so much. Jojo gives him so much healing. He's able to stay in that front line for so long. But then that wall, and I think this is for the first time I've actually seen it, wall max second here, because that was the entire width of the lane. He was able to cut Dudu off so well. Oh, that's not what you like to see. A hook going wide on a rooted target, but now Drake Hero might get chased down a little bit as well. You can see, this is
Oh,
so
no.
much damage.
And Gigo doesn't care. I love the fact that Gigo chased until you saw the opponent. Zest is not even a worry. At this point, Gigo has become a menace on the map from minute 6 onwards, has really controlled the pace, and it's a stark difference from what we saw in game numbers 1 and 2. Gigo, who was down in multiple instances, now granted the opportunity to be that carry that we know he can be.
And what I'll say is, you know, you highlighted it a little bit there, Orbital. Let's look at the champions that he was playing in games 1 and 2. Well, in game 1, we saw him on the Ornn have a bit of a stinker. On game 2, on the Scion, again, not necessarily as bad of a stinker, but not really agency focused. Wasn't able to do the big work that we know from him. This time round, he's playing Jax. It's his 4th most played champion in his entire career, and it feels like it's working a lot better.
I don't think it's going to stop, though, as we get a little bit of a hiccup. All of us held our breath right there. I was like, oh, boy, that's going to happen. But no, we're good. We're good. No problems right there. We're at 28 minutes, though, and this is where lows have historically crumbled throughout. We've really watched them not be able to have a good handle, and that handle's already gone at this point. Where do they go from here outside of Ackerman to get a victory back, or does it really lean on Ackerman just landing the God tier hook?
He's spotted here on this ward. They saw him come round, and now Gigo, who's on the deeper flank here. It's a who's flanking who situation. And
oh, no. Good body block from Drake Hero, able to hold that one, but this is a recall angle for the rest of low, so you just got to scatter and minimize the amount of damage. Backhand Gigo cuts off the corridor, scatters the rest of the team. It looks like everyone's going to get out in good standings, but again, that stat check scared a lot of us.
Yeah, I really thought that somebody had to die there.
Yep.
From Los Grandes, Furier, I think, pretty grateful, maybe just a little bit sleeping at the wheel almost. They saw Ackerman walk into that brush. I think if they'd have just checked it, that's a free blitzcrank right there. So at the very least a flash maybe that could have been forced. But with a Mountain Soul spawning now, Orbital, and for Los Grandes, they have to do this inevitable task of working their way through an Asher Seraphine, all the poke that comes through, and a Nivea Glacial and a wall as well. Ego's looking for a big TP.
Oh, and I mean, hey, that's a drag right on in. Counter-Strike going to be used to close off any further instances, but Fury have full control over the spots out of the map, and for Los, they're gonna pull off a Baron gut call.
Oof.
They gamble on being able to do this once more, and this has been the call from before. However, Tatu pulls off, chases into the Baron's side, and Furia force a play away. Again, for Furia, they're just like, dude, we don't want to give you that opportunity.
No, I mean, I don't mind this as an idea from Los. Like, they got Furier away from the Dragon for now, but what do they do this time? What's their plan for the second time when Furier now goes straight back to it? Oh, wait, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's just... okay. Well, that was maybe to be expected, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, it was like a minute breather for Furia. It was like, oh, you're going... Nope, it doesn't really matter. They clear it out easily. It is going to be Dragon for their side, an extra shield, plus tripled up on the armor and magic resist that you earn. It makes Furia that much tankier and just really hard to punch on through. Ackerman is becoming less and less relevant as this game goes on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the damage that they actually have. We've got Actualizer picked up for Feisty, which is good, but, you know, he hasn't been able to build Sork shoes because he's against Anivia, which is entirely valid for his own survivability, but he's not doing immense amount of damage at this stage. We've got Jin, who's gone for, like, Mosquito Plus build with Rapid Fire Cannon. I've got Serpent's Fang in there. These are all really good items, but they need to be backed up with actual damage, and that's just not there. I don't have an Infinity Edge yet. Like, I've got, is that 50% crit in total? No crit multiplier, and, you know, for the Jin here, this is very, very disastrous.
It hurts to see, and right now you are just the catalyst for hoping Feisty can cut on through. Wall is up, though, as the Baron has started once more. Furia ready to go with his gut call. Very nice air to slow him down due to no more curtain call, and that allows Tatu to go straight into the back line. Another volley slows them all down, and a punch to the backside as Furia looks for the Grin Deliverance to the back line. Might be a little bit more damaging. However, they kite it perfectly. IU is still alive, but getting spit on by Baron, that's a little bit dangerous. IU is out of the fight. This is going to be the revive of Zest, but Zest cannot hold on. No HP to play with, and the Realm Warp to safety is the call. That will be Furia pulling Los along, and back to Baron they go. Round number 2, ding, 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 but round 1 feels like it never really ended. One is down though, Zest not able to play, and this time Furia have much larger HP pools to work with. Remember, the healing from
Seraphine's
IU
time.
is so dang good, and I honestly cannot see Drake here stepping up for that smite battle. Furia have claimed the Soul and the Baron and are now on a warpath to take this game number 3 as well. Tatu dives straight into the back line, forces out a chase, counter-strike onto, locks them all up, and that allows Tuts to snipe away with an icicle to the back of Ackerman's head.
And it's just Anivia and Seraphine's playground right there. You're getting double shields from Jojo every 10 seconds. Anivia is zoning off with her ulti, with lane-wide walls, and Furia have just got the best siege composition that you could have ever hoped for.
Zest being forced to ult to safety, I think 3 times in a row now. Just watches as the base crumbles. This masterclass of a composition comes out in full force as Furia are pushing Los closer to that edge. The fight is on as the encore heralds the end. Furia look like the beast that we know they are, and they take game 2 to put this to series point.
And just one game left for Furia to secure themselves a spot at the America's Cup. One more game, or Los Grandes will take what is maybe a bit of an early exit given how well their regular season was. But overall, you have to say this is a Furia composition and a Furia squad of players who actually look like they're doing very, very nicely. They've got themselves a really good win from game number 3, a massive turnaround win from game number 2. And finally, all of those pieces just start to seep into place. They start to come together at the right time. They lost game 1, but since then they've been completely in control and put themselves now at that match series.
In this series alone, it's one of the few times that we get to see a team quite literally step their way up to glory. Game 1 looked rough, game 2 was a little bit of steal back, game 3 was all dominant, but it's also been a time that we watched Los kind of crumble under the weight of some of their fallacies that we've seen through these last few games that they have played. So Roodood, if we're looking at Los, we want to see them bounce back. We want to see them push to try and show us some glimpse of the glory that we've seen in the BO1s. What do they need to do here if they want to take this game forward?
That they are unfortunately just missing a mid game. They have not really been able to show me anything that says they're going to be able to push the pace of this game. Like, this game was a perfect example of a position where they actually had an advantage. They had a good couple of tools to make something happen, and they just sat back and did nothing, which really does suck to see, to hear, to feel. But they've put themselves in this spot on their own, and they've not really found that mid-game need, that mid-game burst of action that I need to see from them to make me confident, and probably not to make the fans feel confident either.
We'll see if that happens. And for Los, it's do or die time. They've been on blue side 3 games in a row. Will it be a 4th as well? For Furia, it's just one more step to victory and for a chance at a rematch against Red, and their spot secured at the America's Cup. Don't go anywhere. CBLOL on the English side will return in just a bit. one more game is all we need to see from Furia, but for Los, it's a whole different story. Not only do we need to see a game, we need to see a late game from them specifically. If they wish to push us to a game 5 and prove the naysayers wrong to try and clinch their ticket and their ride to the losers finals here.
Yeah, and you know, count me in those naysayers, unfortunately, right? Like a
Yeah.
couple of weeks ago when we saw them take that early bow too loud, I was a little bit skeptical of their chances, and even from there, even now, after that 6-1 in the regular season, it just felt a little bit too good to be true that they were a team that just had so much going for them. As we've moved into that postseason, though, it is only proven that they are going to be a team that struggles as we move later and later on. And now we're here. We're in that postseason. We're in that area where they've began to struggle. They're 2-1 down. Now they need to put those haters to bed. They need to show me what's up as well and prove to us what it is that they've actually got.
Yeah, I think there is a part of any caster, anyone that's also viewing, that they want to have their doubts proven wrong. They want to be on the other end of that, to be shown that, hey, this team can step up. And it might come from this stand, as we are still on the side. I believe when it comes to first pick situation, the winning team from before gets to pick the side, and for the losing team, they choose if they want first and second pick. So Furia get to opt to stay on this red side of the map continuously throughout the series. And we get to see an Aatrox first pickup here for Zest, trying to give Zest a better time once more. And I mean, the hover of the Shaco just for a little craps and giggles.
Yeah. I mean, for calling, it's effectively calling your opponents clowns is how I interpret a Shaco hover, which, you know, take what you want from that. They'll take away this early Aatrox, and the Leona gets locked in actually for Jojo. So our first actual full engage, sort of meaty support that we get to see. We have seen Enchanter sort of rule the roost for a little bit of time, but this time out, it's going to be Jojo on a patented, a tried and true engage style AD, or on a support rather, and we'll see what it is that they look to pair it up. We've obviously had a lot of AD carries be taken off the board by this point. I'm looking at things like Sivir to pair up maybe with this Leona. Could end up seeing an Ezreal for either one of these two. I know that Ezreal Leona is a really good pick, so taking it away here as Roodood definitely does make a little bit of sense if you're looking to prevent this Leona from being able to move out on the map and the Ezreal feeling safe.
And I think you also mentioned before the Misfortune has still yet to make its way into our depths as well. And it's not a terrible matchup. I mean, we've seen the wombo combos that can come out here. For Ackerman, though, leaning into the Alistar. As for Los, you're leaning into a much more heavier engage composition to almost match the Leona. Big pickup for Tuts, though. This Syndra that was banned out back in game number 3. Given a little bit more prio, as a shift for Furia has gone from the top side of the map straight down to the bot side, clearing that bot side support into that mid. Normally here would be a jungle side, but there's that pick that you're talking about, Roodood. It is going to be that Misfortune locked in, ensuring that the match of the bot lane will not be pinched by staggered bans in the second phase.
Yeah, and it's a very good pick here as well for the bot lane of Furia. Very, very easy duo. You hit one piece of CC, the Misfortune just layers her damage, and the Leona continues to apply the CC, whether it's through a Zenith Blade, through another stun, through the ulti coming through. There's a real lack of subtlety to the way that this bot lane works. It is quite simple. It is push button, person die. And that's all that there is to it here. So we'll see if Furia can really come home on that one. They've had a really good showing in that bot side thus far. I think game 1 excluding, where the Kai'Sa was a little bit of a miss from IU. The rest of these have looked really, really solid. And Roodood and Ackerman have, I don't really feel like, been slouches, but haven't been able to do the late game stuff that they need to.
Yep, I mean, it's been a moment and a half. We are looking at a little bit of a mismatch here with the mid and top on opposite sides. We're seeing the mid and top be banned out on opposite sides. Gwen banned away by the side of Los. LeBlanc still taken away from the hands of Feisty, who maybe wishes they picked it up a little bit earlier here, but not allowed through in its own right. Final ban to come through, of course, will be... It'll be the Victor at the end, a safe and stable ban. Sniped away from Feisty.
I wonder if we keep taking away the big picks from Gigo here. Has played a lot of Sante, which is one of those picks. I mean, this could very easily be Aatrox jungle, and I think that's the expectation for Los here. So they're going to be looking at what top laners they want to take with the Gwen ban. It feels like they're looking towards a tank for themselves. So Zest feels like, you know, he's had that good time of things playing the carries. Now they maybe need him to fill in another role with an Ezreal and an Alistair already locked in. I am a little bit worried as to whether or not that actually gives them enough damage.
I do wonder as well, as we have a Nefiri. What in the world?
It's your first CBLOL Nefiri, everybody. That's our hands on it.
Okay, don't look at us like that. You just looked into Fury, man. You don't get a glow on us like that. Oh my god. I hope that picture comes back to haunt you at the end. But granted, Nefiri could be a monster in this, tracking an Ezreal as so, which is why I like this Ezreal lock-in. There's a lot of ways to disengage a Nefiri, or just turn out the lights. Okay, grab that Nocturne, follow in with the Alistar and that Aatrox.
So this does mean then we've got Aatrox top for Zest, and I wonder now if that then gives Renekton to Gigo as one of those maybe go-tos where he can just be a bit of a front line here, because they do need a little bit of damage. They've obviously got enough from that jungle mid roll. They've got some really good pick, but don't know that they've got quite enough damage in the tank, and need that little bit of a front line in there as well. So we'll keep our eyes out for what it is that Gigo goes for. In terms of the damage for Los Grandes, it's now going to be a lot more difficult, as it's the first Camille of the split as well in the CBLOL. Gigo going back to one of his old picks here. Again, as many games, 25 career games on the Camille. 72% win rate for him as well. His highest, before we start getting into the weeds of things, you know, champions that he's only played a handful of times. This is his highest win rate champion for champions above 10 games played. A throwback, by no means, but a throwback all the same.
It is, but it might also be a throw here. Two brand new champions here to the CBLOL, at least on the main stage, and you double it up. It makes sense on paper, right? You look at the Camille, you look at the Nefiri, it is a sure lock on at least one opponent. Now, will the Alistar get in the way? Absolutely. But if you're looking for the Aurora and a solo catch onto maybe the Ezreal, you have good lockdown. Is it the right thing to do, though, in a 2-1 series where, yes, you had a very convincing game number 3? Maybe. Can it bite you in the backside? Very much so. Right now, it feels like Furia, they're taking a chance here, and I love the idea that you have a little bit of leeway, it's sure, but my god, am I going to be looking at this with a very critical eye for this game 4.
Yeah, I think for me, this is... It's a little bit too many cooks in the kitchen here, and we may well have spoiled the broth, is the bad news. Because if we look at it on how it plays out, sort of individual level, Alistair's incredible versus Camille, because the one thing that shuts Camille off is getting knocked out of your own ultimate. Well, Alistair's got a headbutt on a sort of 8-second cooldown that can do that for you. Also, you're going in to darkness. You are diving forward when a Nocturne ult is going to be there. So this game, if Furia win it, they are going to deserve their spot in the top 3. They're going to deserve their spot in the America's Cup. But they are going to have to battle for it on the Rift game.
Yep, it is going to be a battle worn in blood and tears. And for Los, it might end in despair. Might be looking, though, and saying, okay, we've been gifted an opportunity. 2 fresh champions to the CBLOL. Maybe we can take advantage. Dudu, though, over the back end of that alcove, just taking a couple snipe shots, trying to open up on JoJo, wear away at those healthy HP bars. Get them a little bit softer for the laning phase. Maybe looking at an engage at level 2.
Obviously, that is going to be the ideal situation here, that they can whittle down the Alistair level 1, make sure that that's not a particularly useful pick. We do get to see an interesting matchup, definitely, in this mid lane. Definitely a chance for action. As you can see already down on that bot side, that they are looking to make the most of this. Really good adaptation as well, and maybe not an adaptation, but just forethought from Ackerman. Takes the headbutt at level 1, just able to knock away Ayu, meaning that if his Zenith Blade does land, then that is a problem that the Ezreal doesn't need to worry about. They're not being that extra damage to follow on up. You can see here that every time Jojo goes in, Ayu gets knocked away, he can't contribute, and actually, Jojo loses out on the trade. mean, you know, we were talking about level 1 Alistair not really being too useful. Well, so far he's got more HP and finds himself winning out on the bot side.
Feels good, man. At the end of the day.
Yeah.
Of course, with the level 2s being hit and the stark difference of the jungle pathing right now, big ups for the first time, I think, in the series that we are seeing a shift. Drake here are going to be going bot to top, maybe looking to jump on that Camille a little bit early. As we take a look at the lane state, Zest once again in a kind of awkward position on this Aatrox mid lane. Feisty getting some good poke down bot side level 2s. Both Ackerman and Jojo just ready on the offense defense angle. This is a matchup that it's quite interesting to see with the poke levels.
Yeah, I was just we got a glimpse of the mid lane there. Both of the mid laners were trying to deny the cannon from one another. Feisty did get denied. Tuts able to just pick up the cannon minion and throw it at Feisty and secure it himself. So you're playing a game of denying minions versus a Syndra. You are probably going to lose. But as we look at the very, very early stages, the very early mismatch of how this lane has gone, and so far is Furia with just the slightest of advantages, not too typical from what we've seen in this series so far. Usually it's Lowe's who break away about a 1,000 gold lead before anything else really starts to happen.
Around the way we go, though, Tatu clearing that scuttle very, very quickly and able to get a bound on the opposite side. Quick ping, though, into opposite side of the map. I love this setup from Drake Hero. We haven't talked about it too much, but Drake Hero has been trying to stay on top of those engagements. But hold on, I can't even talk about that because bot side is where we're at. Ackerman forced to heal in this situation. Jojo looking for that last little auto attack for the stun. But Dudu steps up a little bit closer for the fight. Now we shift back towards those junglers who have met in the darkness. Drake Hero wins out and is granted a quick pickup of those Raptors.
Yeah, and we'll see. Is he going to try and steal away the Raptors on the flip side? Maybe a little bit of a response here, but second Raptors definitely a camp worth fighting for. Tatu now starts those ones up, and Drake Hero's walking through, making his intentions very clear here. I don't think he's going to be able to get in time, but Tuts with no scatter does take a boatload of damage from Feisty.
And I like that, you know, it might not have been the kills overall, but it was a good AP exchange, though. Gigo in a really awkward spot there. Zest maybe looking for the last Q strike if it was up off a cooldown. Might actually chase for this one. Gigo gets caught. Last auto is there. Flash for Flash, though. Just out of range. Very, very dangerous as Zest asserts a little bit of dominance.
Yeah, and this was the counter pick Camille. So far he's up 5 CS, don't get me wrong, but he's getting now forced back to base and going to lose out a little bit more there than he might have liked to. Playing very close to the edge and now has that sheen, so he's going to continue to be able to do some decent amount of damage with those precision protocols. But again, as Camille, I feel like you're really waiting for that one item turn on before you're a really massive threat, and then on that Trinity Force you can start threatening in team fights, start looking for these trades, for skirmishes in the 1v1, and maybe hoping that will give you something. As Zest yet to recall. I was wondering why he hadn't actually found any items yet, because he's not recalled actually, Orbital, so that's my mistake. But I was thinking it's crazy if he TP'd back to lane without any items. Instead, he just hasn't recalled whatsoever. But he gets back to base with a plated steel cap purchase, so much more beneficial for the age.
Oh, absolutely. Considering that you see only a Sheen coming back, Ego is going to have a tough time. Remember, no flashes, so if you mistake on that repel once more, you're going to be in severe trouble. I will say, though, we are hunting for this fact that these games have been a lot more loose and a lot more, I think gambly is the best way I like to put it, a lot more of the poking and prodding and seeing what you can get in the early game. Keep in mind, Game 2 was one of the quietest early games to mid-game transitions that we've seen. In Game 3, though, it was explosive, I feel like, from minute 1. Everyone kind of stat checking, skill checking, hands checking each other. For this Game 4, I foresee it doing the exact same once level 6 is hit for everyone across the map. Take a look at this. It's not even level 6, and Ackerman is in range. Tuts being very, very cautious, but not recognizing that there's a pinch happening on top of their head. Tuts, though, level 7 now and is able to stave away. Good job holding on for the dragon to be taken by Tatu.
Yeah, so it's, again, these Raptor camps are sort of deciding how the game gets played almost, as Drake Hero steals another set away, but Tatu, level 6, as an extra camp up as well, has managed to find his way into the dragon, and yeah, that's going to give, you know, a third set of Raptors over, which is, albeit quite nice, I'll say. It's nothing like an early Drake, and we've seen these dragons have really large impact through this series. The majority of our games are going to souls. Because both of these teams seem to lack that real aggression through the mid stage of the game. Furia have never been in a position to win out in the mid stages and the early stages of the game to be able to like force their way through. And Los just haven't been able to force a good close to a game in a good while.
I thought you were gonna pause there and just say a good game, and I was like, dang, that's kind of harsh, man. That's kind of harsh, but it's a reality check that's needed. But I agree. You know, having that time frame of we're still looking for that concise moment mid to late and giving an opportunity over to Los. At the current moment, though, and the standings were dead even. In a status that I don't think we've seen in quite some while. That's a true shot barrage over the side as Tatu just says, haha, you don't even get the tag. I am going to take away my red buff. But we're looking at a 12.2 on either side. The only main difference between anyone, the one dragon, Furious, and a single infernal frag.
I mean, it's so rare that we see the gold be this even. Looking across the lanes, the fact that the largest discrepancy that we see is 100 gold in mid lane is wild. Usually one lane is winning slightly more than the other, and you know, junglers have found some sort of advantage somewhere with an assist. But this game, you can tell Los recognize that actually they're staring down the barrel of a gun here. And I think that we've spent 8 minutes talking about this early game, and we need to remind people what's at stake here. The winner of this series goes on to play not just up against Red in that lower final, but also in the America's Cup. They secure themselves at the very minimum international play, and whether it's international with the North America or whether it's international at first stand remains to be seen. But a win here puts you in international play, gets you a post season, and a loss sends you home as though your regular season did not even matter. And I think that for Los in particular, that is really heartbreaking with a 6-1 record.
The regular season, 100%. I think for Los, it's really just, we need to see those doubts cleared up, and might become a story of danger abound and getting your hopes up early. Either way, though, for them, it's almost a fear of, we don't want to look at the big picture. If we look at the big picture, that weight might stand on our shoulders. Instead, focus on this one game at a time. We need to make sure to take it one step at a time if we want to come back into this game. Over the wall, we see as, oh, that's a weird angle. He's all feisty for 1 or 2 moments, and now you're forced out and away from your tower. Good flash by Gigo and that Hextech ultimatum. But that vision control looked wonky as heck to me.
Yeah, so he hopped over with the W, and before he went invisible, you just got a glimpse of him, because the way that Aurora W works is like you land and become invisible, but now we're looking mid lane.
And that's going to be a quick charge in with the paranoia. How much of a lockdown do you get? Scout the weekend gonna land, and Tuts is out in no man's land. Great catch for first blood. Handed over to Feisty's hands.
Yeah, and you love to see that. And Ayu now, he's got no E on Dudu.
Uh-oh, Ayu stepped on a bullet time to secure the kill, and poor Dudu ain't finding a way out. No barrier to keep your life alive. Furia retaliate back with a bot lane kill.
I mean, Dudu has just choked it massively there. That is not legal in any way. You can't step up to Misfortune with BF and Vamp Scepter, who has ulti, who has barrier as well. Like, that fight was not even close. Maybe if Dudu lands his spells, it's a little bit more even. Like, he lost a W, you got lost as well, as Ayu dodged it. But, I mean, that's a massive throw to have. And those are the types of things that now they're going to have to reconcile with through the rest of this game. Furia are going to be very happy because they just lost out on their mid laner, who Tuts has had a really solid series, who was doing pretty well in the 1v1 individually. But that loss there obviously going to be pretty weak and a pretty big loss for them. He gets to go back to base, pick up the pickaxe, not quite the full BT, which is definitely disappointing for him, but definitely in the position of advantage in this bot lane.
100% agree. I think for Furia, you're looking at Tuts to once again be that kind of foundational support for the rest of the team, and Ayu being that big shot caller, or the big damage dealer at the end. I think you're not overly mad about where the gold has gone, but for Los, it's yet again, it's a gut call, and I give appreciation. Really nice call to go ahead and chase down that mid, needing that ability to make that call with the paranoia, with that Nocturne, which I will always say, need to ult sooner rather than later. I want to see that paranoia used to set expectations of, you step a little bit further out of the lane, you always run into the chance of a Nocturne ganking your lane.
He's just hovering on this top side, making sure that were a gank to come through, he's there ready. That paranoia just ticked back over, so I can take the crab without contest and works his way back through his top side camps. But with a Drake spawned on that bot side, first one was taken by Furier, and they're not particularly confident to take another one. You see Gigo here on the Camille, actually able to find a pretty good trade there. As soon as the Aatrox uses Q1, if you go in immediately, you can find a quick short trade before he can get up to Q3, and that really makes the most difference here, as now they're looking for this on the top side. Zest has got flash, uses it very early.
I mean, I like it because you flash inside of the brush, and so you do deceive Tatu a little bit. But the recognition that Tatu and Gigo have enough to kind of push you down into the rings with the Hextech Ultimatum, plus the immediate attachment, I get it. Do I wish we saw the attempt to stay alive? Absolutely, right? Like, I want to see the stat check at the end. I want to see an Aatrox do Aatrox things.
Part of me was hoping for the 1v2 turnaround there from Zest. A little bit.
Oh, that would have been heartbreaking, by the way. That would have been heartbreaking if that happened.
From game number 1, but Tatu's back on the spot side. He's got his Spear of Shojin now. The Stride Breaker finished off for Drake Hero, and as far as first items are going, pretty much everywhere has completed them, save for those mid laners who are pretty much compelled to go tier 2 boots as a pretty big rush early on. Everywhere else, though, feeling very good about their stating in this game. We're jockeying now around the dragon. It's Los that pulled it to begin with, and I think that, again, as team fights go, I'm expecting them to have a slightly better run of things. Definitely think that Furier have got a more difficult time. They're going to have to try and play scrappy, play skirmish-oriented with their composition. If they try and dive in, they're going to get the lights turned off. They need to be so clinical and so precise with how they engage all at the same time, or it's going to be a very bad time for them.
Which is why they're actually trying to pull this larger pincer right now. Tatu forcing their way in, cleared out the vision. They TP'd in Tuts early, and they're tracking their mid laner all the way back to mid lane, ensuring that Feisty doesn't get some early proc damage once more. However, this split is a little bit more dangerous. Take a look at this. No movement from Roodood right now. It will just be a steal attempt with Drake here on that wings, but instead it's a fight. Really nice revamp in by Jojo with that Zenith Blade. And so it wards off any further aggression, but the dragon is stopped once more.
True Shot Barrage landed onto 3 there, and Roodood has now joined the team. It might be their engage.
And there they go, TP in the backline as well. So that is the Between Worlds being utilized, but the bullet time crushes behind that HP bar. However, Furia have lost more HP than they had taken from Los' side. So Los Grandes able to pick up that Drake.
I think this is a big win for Furier, I'm going to be honest. It gives Gigo a little bit of time to work away on this plate. He's probably got 2. Just the 1 plate, but it's TP burned by Zest. It's a kill for Ayu, who's now 2-0. I don't know. Overall, I'd feel good if I was Los. I'd feel good if I was Furier. Both of these teams come away with something. And it's a question of whether or not they can get any more. As Zest spots Tatu. Hands in the cookie jar here.
Oh, wow. Zest tried to predict that tether breaking, and Tatu's like, nope, I didn't think I got out either, so sorry about that, and walks away.
Yeah, if that Q3 connects, maybe that's a lot more damage, and then you get to see Tatu feel a little bit more scared almost, but not the case here. The power of Neferi W is that it makes you invulnerable or intargetable, not invulnerable. So he still gets caught by the tether, will still be rooted by it, as now Ackerman, again, no ulti, going to take a good chunk of damage as he does end up getting the Herald secured by Drake Hero. Again, do Furia want to let them out of this?
Really? I was not expecting this chase in, but it looks like Tatu understands the strength of the champion. With Tuts roaming in from the top side, Tatu enables a kill for Ayu.
And Ackerman down once again here. Yes, the sacrificial cow more than anything, but I don't think that that's the big pick that Furier need. They want to be finding slightly more highly prized members with those big ultis. Ayu does have bullet time up in about 10 seconds and a little bit of time that you can look for this window down on the bot side. Zest is the one who's in trouble, as you see Gigo playing very nicely now with that completed Trinity Force. It's this point in the lane where the Camille you're expecting to really start running away with things. Any early game advantages that the Aatrox can get now need to start being put to bed more so than anything.
in that same region. We're looking at Los. Are they able to kind of push their advantages where they hold? I mean, Drake Hero has had a really good spot being proactive with that paranoia, enabling the rest of the team to fight. Hasn't yielded a whole lot of results, but it's kept them in that running. Another dragon coming up shortly. We are going to take a look at this fight once more. This kind of disjointed engagement that just saw a little bit of chaos.
Yeah, and you can see the idea here from Los. It's okay, turn out the lights, we'll TP and we'll have a numbers advantage. And that will win us the fight. Now, overall, what it actually did was win them the objective. But they got onto Tartu to begin with, who's really easily able to break that tether and get out to safety. And actually, the entire time, the Alistair is just taking so much damage. Ackerman is destined to fall, and they don't even get a 1-for-1 for it. And look at Tartu down on the player cams. He's getting hyped up. He knows it was worth.
Yeah, it was. I don't know if it was pop-off worthy. Like, that's the only thing. That pop-off was a little bit chaotic for what occurred. But at the same time, you got to have that energy, right? At the end of the day, you need that energy if you want to springboard yourself into a series victory. IU now may get punished with that Herald charge underneath the tower. Will be taught to over the wall, though, to slow them down. It'll only be one charge, not even a tower taken. So, good save by Furia's End.
Shot Barrage will soften up this wave. Dudu probably looking to try and get a recall in relatively quickly here. And I mean, for Los Grandes, again, a team that at the start of this year, if you told them, okay, guys, this roster that you've built is going to place 4th, I think they'd bite your hand off. If you told them at the end of the regular season, you're going to place 4th, they would have done nastier things to you because they'd have been upset at the insinuation here. But they are, unfortunately, on the border of getting O2 swept out of playoffs, not really finding any purchase in this series. They won the first game, but from there never really looked too convincing. And even game number 1 was off the back of some pretty or clutch team fights, let's say, as now they're looking for Zest on the bot side. He does dodge one.
And a flash into the World Ender, by the way, taking a chance, draws the TP out from Feisty. It's not a bad call. I mean, Los, though, playing this one very safe.
Yeah, and I mean, Zest here is doing very well versus the Camille individually as well. Up 1.1k, hasn't really been too much jungle interference outside the occasional top hover that we saw about that level 8 marker. But Jojo, a little bit of a stinker there from him. Missed his ulti, missed his Zenith Blade, and Gigo's committed his flash and his ult to try and make that play work. It does feel pretty rough, but now with no ulti, the Aatrox much more susceptible to going down.
Oh. Very nice flash by Zest this time around. You are safe from the ultimate barrage from Tatu and Tuts.
And that's the power of just having that little bit of extra HP built on up, able to do quite a good amount of damage. That's now 4 ultis actually expended to try and take down Zest, who once again has stood firm. Yes, he's 0-0-0, but in the last minute, he's had 4 ultis thrown at him and he's still not died, so... I would like to think that secures Los this dragon and puts them now in a small bit of sort of ascendancy where they've got a little bit of control on the map to take this objective.
Control may be the other side of just no control from Furia's End, who, as you said, spell slung everything, but they are still sitting in that range of, well, we got the scaling a little bit. Yes, we have Tatu on this assassin in the Nefiri, but it feels like they still have a little bit of time to build on up. For Los, though, they forced the flash out of Tuts thanks to Zest single-handedly throwing down and saying, guys, I've won multiple lane matchups already through games 1 and 2. I will do it again if you give me the opportunity.
Yeah, and I mean, this was counter pick as well. This was Gigo saying, actually, give me the Camille, I'll be able to do things up against the Aatrox. Now, whether or not he knows this is going to be one for the later part of this game and he's biding his time a little bit, or whether he was expecting to have a much better laning phase than he has had, we will wait and see, because either one of those is 2 different stories. One of them is very, very concerning, and the other is we're waiting for the pop-off, as now Fury are 3 members strong.
And that three-member strong will be enough to punch their way through poor Syndra's life. Tatsu and Jojo running for the hills, but the rest of the team is here. Unbreakable will being used to buffer for a moment, but here comes that re-engagement. TP straight to the middle, though. I don't know if that's where you want to be. Hexacults made him use and immediately denied with the headbutt pulverize out. And now the turnaround of Zest says, guys, I might not have ult, but I have the damage. And bullet time across your face says, no, you do not. Furia bite back in the best way possible to go ahead and take a 1-for-1 and maybe some extra tower pressure.
Yeah, you do get to see there why the Camille can struggle versus Alistair, as Feisty now in a little bit of trouble.
Yes, and that's not where you want to be. Feisty joined on in. Gigo holding on the wall, though, brings Roodood to Arcane shift their way to safety. Los tried an engagement, got one, but lost another. And I really don't know who came out on top. I mean, Furia got the tower, sure, but I feel that went very close either way.
Yeah, I mean, it was an engage made by Furia that Los kind of read to begin with, but then after the fact, Furia still kind of came out on top. So we'll take another look at actually, you know, everything that happened here. It's Furia that are looking for this initial fight. Tuts gets blown up. It's a really good counter from Los Grandes to start this all off, but then they seep and they go just a little bit too far forward. Less TPs in to try and make something extra happen, but Jojo under the turret is actually just a little too safe. And Tatu this whole time is throwing darking daggers at people, whittling down their HP. You see, Gigo cannot play versus Alistair. That's just not a thing. And then a really good call from Furia is to commit. They say, okay, we have to blow up one. Let me Zenith Blade in. I have to imagine it's Jojo making that call, going, okay, just pick a target. We're going to go on this Aatrox ulti, and calling for Ayu's ult to make that happen. Because that otherwise doesn't happen. You don't fire an F ulti on a Zenith Blade.
No, not at all. It's just, it's a shot in the dark and it worked this time around. But it has created space. Meanwhile, we're still looking at this global objective range here. Baron is on the table. Dragon 2-1 standing. 2 minutes left on that fourth of the game. We're still waiting for teams to kind of settle down here. Gold is only 1.0 difference. Dudu, though, might be getting caught out here. Ackerman, rain on your parade as a solar flare lands directly on your head. Unbreakable will being utilized here. I mean, that's just Ackerman. I mean, there's nowhere to really go. Can't blame him for that one.
Yeah, trying to put a little bit of vision down, and 5 members of Furia sneak out of the brushes towards you. This should be tier 1 turret now falling, as they might hop onto Zest over the wall here, and Gigo's gone a little bit solo for the time being. His team's focused on the tier 1 turret, so he's just taunting them a little bit.
Oh, and I love that. But again, it shows the aggression levels, proactivity, Furia. We mentioned, you know, you don't really just go off of Zenith Blade. But the fact that IU has so much space to play with and willing to kind of pull that bullet time across, what, 2 people's faces off of a Scout of the Week, feels great for Furia, who are still pushing the limits of what the comp can do, now up at 1.5.
And they'll absolutely take that. I think that their composition, again, one that does have just that slight edge as we move into the skirmishes in the late game, but definitely one that they will struggle with as the game gets later. Is that Los working their way towards a Baron just to clear out some vision and make sure that Feisty's nice and clear? But we've not really seen the Los composition counter Furia, other than that quick one-shot onto Tuts, who now has a Zhonya's, by the way, so they won't be able to repeat that without any major fumbles. I do think that Furia are going to struggle if they can't put this game to bed quite soon. They don't have the dragons really to back them up, so it's really important that they get this dragon in 20 seconds. But looking at the focus down on that bot side, there's barely any vision there.
I mean, that's what's the setup here, though. For Furia, they're like, yeah, there's no vision. For Los, they're also like, there is no vision. Let's go ahead and put some vision down. Double pink ward goes down. Opens up space to see where Zest is coming from. But in comes the Paranoia. They're going to try and dive on in. But guess what? They've locked out the vision on the back end. In goes Gigo just a wee bit. And they force Drake here completely away. Yes, they lose on the back end with Tuts. But the fight is still on as IU is very much alive. Here comes the bullet time across 3. And they blow up poor Zest. Ackerman running for the hills here as Furia bite down on Los's backside. It's a grande dessert to chew on as Furia eat up the team. It's only Dudu left alive. But the Zenith Blade catches your life. Dudu is able to arcane shift to safety, but not far enough. As it's an opportunity alive for IU to ace off Los.
And I wonder if they can do the Baron here. They've got 3 members, but I think that the HP, the lifesteal from IU means that they'll be able to take this. Was hoping that maybe the Martyr WQ that took down Giga would be enough, but it's not going to be the case. Dudu doing his best in that team fight, not quite able to make enough damage stick, and it is Furia who come out on top. You see immediately, look at the base though right now. Drake Hero and Ackerman, they are booking it towards that dragon. They want to take that objective for themselves. They know the Baron's gone, but they're going to try and put themselves to Soul Point as well.
I am just enjoying what Fury are doing here. Every time it gets closer to the late game, they're proving that Los are just kind of sitting back and waiting and pulling the trigger every single time for a fight. I love what we are watching here for Furia. They claimed the Baron, they've claimed a dragon for themselves earlier, and now they get a look at this Chemtech. Chemtech is one for the watches, but take a look at that damage chart. I wasn't even looking at that before. Massive win for the side of Kigo up there in the top, right? And just enjoying it. Nah, Feisty's fine. Feisty's okay here.
I think Tatu a little bit hesitant. If he hops over the wall there, he just one-shots or like does a lot of damage to Feisty, or at the very least burns an ulti or something like that. Nevertheless, going to be looking towards this Dragon and Lustgranders once again. You have to think they might want to fancy this. I do think that they've got the opportunity to sit and wait and not really do anything with this. The longer that they can stall is the longer that Furrier aren't using their Baron. But now is when I feel that this side lane gets really, really difficult. Gigo's 2 items. He's working quite well through Zest.
Okay, well...
He's dead. Yeah, he does damage. I thought this was the case.
Yeah. You were like, where was that 30 seconds ago when I called it? There are some issues here.
A little bit of CC for Jojo, and that's all that they needed. Feisty getting caught on the sides, and that might just put this series completely out of Los's grasp here. They've got no mid laner now for the next 30 seconds as Furrier are battering down the hatches, trying to take down as many turrets, as many structures as possible. And they're doing a good job at it too.
They have a full minute and a half, which now brings in over 3.5 waves crashing. And in a 3-2 status, it makes it so simple. Top side, 2 plates, or mid lane, 2 plates down. Bot side, make it 3. This is the chance for Los. There's not much you can do. Dudu barely doing any damage to kind of reiterate. And that's going to be the engagement. Hexa cultivated him, slows them all down. Bullet time across their face. Ayu even taking up 2 tower shots. That is Furia going for the bite. Inhibitor is gone. Mid lane next on the chopping block.
Going for the bite and going for the throw as well here as Ayu just stands, tanks the turret, refuses to elaborate as he's able to do a lot of damage underneath that. Now a TP back in from Tuts. He wants to get a little bit more from this. They want this entire turret, and they get inhibitors as well.
I love Tatu's entrance, by the way. Chemtech plant boost straight into inhibitor. I love the fear that it puts in Los, as Los recognizes you can't do a dang thing. Massive Baron power play coming out here as it's a clear of nearly every outer structure of Los's base. Last outer tower available, and it's a massive gold influx for Furia.
You would just think here that surely now Furia are on the road to a match up against Red, a opportunity to vanquish their demons. They've definitely struggled against Red so far this split, and looking one step closer to that international play. Yes, it may just be the America's Cup. It could very well be first stand. We don't know yet, but the victory here takes them to having another amount of games to play in the postseason, and a loss here for Los again. I think that they should be happy with what they've done so far this season. I think you tell them at the start of the season they place 4th, they're exceptionally happy. You tell them after the regular season, it's maybe the opposite story. But this team has got such good bones. It's got such a good base to go from. That a difficult series up against Furrier is maybe what they need.
See if they can still salvage something from this one. 9K down, one of the largest deficits we've seen. You talked about it before for Furia's end. We haven't seen a truly decisive game, it feels like. There have been slow wins and there have been iffy wins. This one feels much more in control for themselves. 12 to 4, 30.5 minutes. Maybe Dragons not fully in their way, but my God, if they are not ruling the map, I don't know what they have done here. Ackerman spotting out Tatu, and there's just nothing you can do with Furia breathing down your neck.
Yeah, unfortunately, Gigo is a little bit separated from the team for when that wave crashed. The idea here is that when the wave crashes, you look to dive because you can see Zest on the other side of the map. So you have a 5 versus 4 and you make a play happen before that TP comes on through. Good scatter, good poke. Furia here just playing slowly. They also know that with an 8k gold lead, or whatever gold lead they perceive it to be, they don't have to overplay their hand. They can slowly
Mhm.
work their way through this. They can get a dragon, they can get a baron, and they can coax their way into a series win.
Oh, nice scout of the week to slow them all down here. Paranoia being utilized, but it's only to try and catch out this unfortunate one inside of this map. Zest and the rest of the squad trying to push on out, but Los again, it's just defending their base. Gigo doesn't even care that they lost maybe a third of their HP. It's Furia right back on the top side inhibitor tower. Now they go on in. Zenith Blade into one. Bullet time across 4. Nobody goes down just yet, but it's close enough. Gigo takes a chunk out of Ackerman's backside, and with the expenditure of almost every single ultimate in the game, it's yet again Furia to win out in that macro. 3 inhibitors down.
And now look at the neutral objectives on the top left of your screen. 15 seconds on a dragon, 15 seconds on a baron. No surprises which one we expect Furia to pan out towards, as they're not on a soul, they're not particularly close to it either. They're going to head straight out towards the big purple worm, with triple super minions crashing down on every single wave. Los Grandes have got such a difficult task. Doing anything outside of leaving their base seems inconceivable. The idea of getting in to steal away a baron is just out of their control. A good blue ward here lets them know that they're not on the baron. What that means is that they're sat there waiting, they're baiting for somebody else to make their way in.
Uh-oh. And poor Ackerman, there's only so much you can do. You have a pretty good inkling, though, with no vision on the map, that, hey, yeah, they're on it. We can't really do much about it. Ackerman says we're going to try. True Shot Barrage gives way to Vision. Tuts, annoying poor Drake hero with that blue buff stumble. It's enough time where Smite comes through and it's Baron firmly in the hands of Furia. No chance whatsoever. The final pieces to this game coming into view.
I mean, they don't need the dragon here. It's going to do nothing for them. As Jojo's gone in. He's just thrown his solar flare into Narnia, and now Tartu's gone over the wall as well.
They found Mr. Tum Tums over there in Narnia under the lamppost. Feels kind of bad. Feisty next on the block. The ice will melt away, and the king roars ahead. Furia biting down on the throats of Los as the base crumbles even further. 2 Nexus Towers down. The opponent's crumbling behind. Bullet time to secure victory. As that is Furia 3-1, knocking Los out and punching their tickets to the America's Cup.
And you can see as well the fans up in arms. A very happy day to be a Furia fan. They now get to see their team go one step further, not just in the CBLOL Cup, but they get to see them play in, at the minimum, the America's Cup as well. That promise of international play that this roster should have been giving gets delivered on. They are a team, they are a roster of players who have the ability to go to these international events and make big waves. We saw it from them at MSI last year. They went there, they took games off of massive teams, and now we get to see them at the very minimum playing up against some of the scrubs from the LCS. We will see them have a wonderful showing in this postseason, and not before, though, they have another date, another rematch with the Red Knights.
And honestly, that rematch I think is one to watch for. They took a tumble in a BO3, and I feel like this kind of shows them stepping up to the plate. They're saying, hey, it's a BO5 that we're really watching for Red as well. I'm sure they're taking a look at the series. Unfortunately for Los, it is going to be that period of time where got to go back to the drawing board. You are now out of the season, a long couple of weeks ahead of you to kind of take a look and realize that, hey, the style that we played back in the regular season might have worked for the moment, but difficulties have been abound. You can take a look at this bracket run. Loud waiting for just about anyone in that upper grand finals.
And I mean, for Los, it is a sad exit. They came in, and you can see on the top left of your screen there, Los came in as your first seed. A loss versus Loud, who are in the upper finals. They then take a loss to Furia. It's not been their best postseason, and unfortunately, they will no longer be the team that were 6-1 in the regular season. Looks like nobody could beat them. They will be that team that flunked out of the playoffs that little bit too early. Kudos, though, to Furia. They've made a good run through this lower bracket thus far, and taking this game, it is going to be a good start. Now they have to face their demons once again and see if they can repeat it next weekend.
Yep, that's going to be the fun of it because honestly, that's the treat. We get one more week to really determine who is going to be standing at the top of this pile here in the CBLOL side of things, and then, watch a few more international points as well. But the CBLOL action has continued throughout an amazing turn of events, and Roodood, it was a joy to cast with you here on the day. Now, before we close out on the CBLOL English side of things, I do want to say, if you missed all the action across this last weekend, don't worry. There's a spot that you can find all of it as well. The Gringos Liberados podcast. We'll be going over all the matches that have come through, maybe as well looking forward into the future for the lower bracket finals and the grand finals itself. You can take a look on the YouTube side of things at CBLOL_English. Follow all the action. We'd also say if you want to watch all the matches in the English side next weekend as well, please go ahead and leave us a follow here on Twitch and keep eyes for all the amazing moments. Of course, for today's side, we want to give a big thank you to Adam, who was our producer, giving us all the glory and making sure that we could broadcast this for you. And Roodood, it was a pleasure as always. My name is Orbital. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in on the day. We'll see you all next weekend for the conclusion of the CBLOL Cup playoffs.
Do we fight to hold our heads up high and beat the drum to what we love? Risk the fall, or we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding. Only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants?